Ladies and gentlemen, the Alabama Senate will now come to order. Our prayer today will be delivered by Reverend Chris McCain of Grace United Methodist Church in Prattville, Alabama. Reverend McCain is the guest of Senator Chambliss.
Let us pray. Almighty God, as we gather today to convene this session of the Alabama State Senate, we humbly seek your guidance and wisdom. We ask that you grant clarity of mind, compassionate hearts, and courage in the decisions made today. Bless each senator present with the discernment to uphold justice, promote peace, and serve the people of Alabama with integrity and honor. May the deliberations be guided by truth, the actions be guided by righteousness, and the outcomes be for the greater good of all citizens. Bless this session with your presence together for the betterment of our state and its people. And may your divine presence guide us in all that we do. It's in your holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend McCain. Today, the pledge will be led by Audrey Ward. Audrey attends Straughn High School and is paging for Senator Carnley.
Attention, salute, pledge.
Thank you, Audrey. Secretary, call the roll.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Allen, Mr. Barfoot, Mr. Beasley, Mr. Chasteen, Ms. Coleman, Ms. Coleman-Madison, Mr. Elliott, Ms. Figures, Mr. Gavan, Mr. Gudger, Mr. Hatcher, Mr. Hovey, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Kitchens, Mr. Livingston, Mr. Melson, Mr. Orr, Mr. Price, Mr. Reed, Mr. Roberts, Mr. Sessions, Mr. Shellnut, Mr. Singleton, Mr. Smitherman, Mr. Stewart, Mr. Stutz, Mr. Wagner, Ms. Weaver, Mr. Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have 30 senators present, which is a quorum. The Senate is ready to transact business.
Mr. President.
Senator Wagner.
Move that we excuse absent senators.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. President.
Senator Wagner.
Move that we dispense with the reading of the journal from the previous legislative day and that we adopt said journal.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered. All right, Senator Reed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we set sunset aside for a special order calendar.
All right, Secretary, call the long roll.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Allen, Mr. Barfoot, Mr. Beasley, Mr. Bell, Mr. Butler, Mr. Carnley, Mr. Chambliss, Mr. Chasteen, Ms. Coleman, Ms. Coleman-Madison, Mr. Elliott, Ms. Figures, Mr. Gavan, Mr. Gudger, Mr. Hatcher, Mr. Hovey, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Kitchens, Mr. Livingston, Mr. Melson, Mr. Orr, Mr. Price, Mr. Reed.
Aye.
Mr. Roberts. Mr. Sessions. Mr. Shellnut. Mr. Singleton. Mr. Smitherman. Mr. Stewart. Mr. Stutz. Mr. Wagner.
Here. Aye.
Ms. Weaver.
Pick your choice.
Mr. Williams.
31 ayes, 0 nays. The motion passes. All right. We go. All right, Senator Wagner.
Mr. President, I have a report from the Committee on Rules.
All right, Secretary Reed received the report from the Committee on Rules.
From the Committee on Rules, Senate Resolution Number 44, Special Order Calendar. Be it resolved by the Senate of the Legislature of Alabama that immediately upon the adoption of this resolution, the following business in the order set forth below shall be the special and paramount order of business for the 20th legislative day, taking precedence over the regular order of business or any pending or unfinished business. Introduction of bills, House messages, reports from standing committees, motions, and resolutions. On page 53, Senate Bill 252 by Senator Reed and others regarding the Alabama Growth Alliance. On page 52, Senate Bill 247 by Senator Livingston and others relating to the Alabama Workforce Transformation Act. On page 51, Senate Bill 253 by Senator Chasteen and others regarding the Alabama Workforce Pathways Act. On page 56, Senate Bill 243 by Senator Roberts and others regarding economic development. On page 55, Senate Bill 242 by Senator Singleton and others relating to innovation districts. On page 21, Senate Bill 149 by Senator Orr relating to prisoners. On page 26, House Bill 164 by Representative Robbins relating to consumer protection. On page 27, Senate Bill 220 by Senator Roberts relating to public contracts. On page 23, House Bill 138 by Representative Reynolds regarding a supplemental appropriation. On page 47, Senate Bill number 240 by Senator Barfoot regarding the Department of Mental Health. On page 58, Senate Bill 256 by Senators Smitherman and Singleton relating to the newborn screening panel. On page 27, House Bill 253 by Representative Brown relating to the State Port Authority. On page 17, Senate Bill 186 by Senator Orr regarding ranked choice voting. On page 36, Senate Bill 128 by Senator Melson relating to the Public Health Department State Board of Health. On page 35, House Bill number 69 by Representative McCampbell regarding controlled substances. On page 54, Senate Bill 225 by Senators Gudger and Weaver relating to state symbols. On page 35, House Bill number 70 by Representative McCampbell relating to the Board of Dental Examiners. On page 28, Senate Bill 234 by Senator Gavan relating to public contracts. On page 52, Senate Bill 275 by Senator Melson relating to agriculture authorities. On page 45, House Bill 275 by Representative Almond relating to indigent defense. On page 63, Senate Bill 251 by Senator Jones relating to public investments. On page 62, Senate Bill number 208 by Senator Kelly relating to the Interstate Compact Social Work Examiners. On page 22, House Bill 101 by Representative Clark regarding elections. On page 29, Senate Bill 233 by Senator Coleman Madison regarding mortgages. On page 36, Senate Bill number 37 by Senator Allen relating to the Alabama Clean Indoor Air Act. On page 33, House Bill 87 by Representative Brown regarding airport authorities. On page 17, Senate Bill number 88 by Senator Weaver regarding the Alabama Fire College. On page 12, Senate Bill 141 by Senator Bell relating to St. Clair County. On page 31, House Bill 15 by Representative Lipscomb regarding the Department of Conservation. On page 60, Senate Bill 244 by Senator Weaver relating to the Board of Medical Examiners. On page 12, Senate Bill 142 by Senator Bell relating to St. Clair County. On page 48, House Bill 75 by Representative Ensler relating to crimes and offenses. On page 13, Senate Bill 163 by Senator Williams and Sessions relating to Mobile County. On page 8, House Bill 139 by Representative Ellis relating to the Department of Insurance. On page 59, Senate Bill 237 by Senators Coleman and Coleman-Madison relating to child support. On page 37, House Bill 126 by Representative Holsey and others regarding fire protection personnel and emergency medical services. On page 27, House Bill 196 by Representative Ingram regarding sale of tax delinquent land. On page 6, Senate Bill 124 by Senator Kelly relating to the Alabama Security Regulatory Board. On page 4, Senate Bill 127 by Senator Stewart and Coleman-Madison relating to the Alabama Athletic Commission. On page 5, Senate Bill 133 by Senator Barfoot relating to the Alabama Securities Commission. On page 5, Senate Bill 134 by Senator Barfoot relating to the Department of Insurance. On page 5, Senate Bill 148 by Senator Coleman-Madison relating to the State Board of Respiratory Therapy.
Mr. President,
Senator Wagner.
move the Senate adopt the report from the Committee on Rules using the short roll call.
All right, any objection? Object. Hold on, are you wanting to talk or are you objecting to? Oh, you want to talk? Okay. You're recognized to speak on the calendar.
Thank you so much for the recognition. I think I counted on this calendar today about 41 bills. Whole lot of bills. I see one on here. I think I counted, did I count? Let me see how many Democratic bills I see out of 41 bills. I mean, I see that have I'm saying Democratic bill, doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bill that's partisan, but the sponsor is Democrat. Let me see how many of those I see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Are these, let me see, 3, 4, okay, and they're not sunset. Five. I would say 5 because I see 2 on here that have Democratic sponsors, but they're sunset bills. So that's not really a bill that they've introduced that is something that they're necessarily passionate about or they're trying to do for a constituency. And I guess my concern is not necessarily the calendar itself, because the rules chair can only do the bills that are out of committee. Part of the challenge that I know I've personally had is even getting a bill to have a hearing in committee. So we sponsor legislation. We have a constituency also. We have people that count on us also. They're just saying, when in the world is Senate bill such and such gonna come up? And I can't give them an answer because the bill hasn't even had an opportunity to get a hearing. And so that's the thing that's kind of unnerving when we come down now at the 20th day of the legislative session. I mean, I got bills that have, Senate Bill 19 is the one that people continuously call me about, trying to get it on the calendar so we can have some type of recourse for survivors of child sex assault. I've been getting calls about body cam legislation, taser legislation. I've been requesting that those bills come up in the council. So the chairman he only can put the bills on there if they've passed out of committee. And I just don't understand what the problem is of getting bills to just have a fair hearing, up or down vote. Because again, we have constituency also. We have folks that care about these types of issues, that want to make sure that they're protected, want to have some level of recourse, that shouldn't even be partisan pieces of legislation, but we can't get a committee hearing. Again, chairman cannot do anything, can't put the bills on the calendar unless they pass out of committee. Downstairs, Representative Morris, when she first came to the legislature, she said, I got so tired of you talking about how things used to happen, what you used to do. And there was a time, believe it or not, that I actually was a committee chairperson. I chaired boards and commissions. And never, ever did I keep anybody's legislation from coming up, especially if you served on the committee. We're gonna get you a fair hearing. Now, I can't guarantee you that the bill will come out, That would be up to the members. You'd have to do that work. But at least every person would have the opportunity to get a fair hearing on their bill. And right now, you have us in the minority, we're serving at a deficit. Like we can't even go tell our constituency that we've had this hearing and it failed. We can't even get a hearing. So again, the chairman can't do anything, can't put any of these bills on the calendar unless we get a fair hearing in committee. So I'm just appealing to the majority party that, just take an up or down vote on the bills. At some point, we have to have some level of political courage that on whatever issue it is, you just got to take the vote. And it makes us, what am I going to tell these survivors of child sex assault? Year after year after year, when we can't get a hearing. What am I going to tell these families who have lost their loved ones to either being hogtied, tased over and over again, when we can't even get a hearing? Some of them just want to have an opportunity for somebody to hear their case, hear what happened to their loved one, but we can't get hearings. And so, I'm just hoping that, at the end of the day, that we have an opportunity to have some committee hearings. Now, I did request a bill to go on the calendar. I have requested it several times. This is Senate Bill 167, which is the Jobs Act. And this shouldn't be a partisan bill either. It just simply says if you've received state dollars, if we've given you some type of incentive, and yet it's found out that you have partaken in or turned a blind eye to human trafficking or child labor, that money is clawed back. You have to give that back to the state of Alabama. That's a nonpartisan issue. Who does not want to support that effort for somebody that's gotten a tax incentive or some type of tax dollars have gone for infrastructure or whatever the case may be, whatever the incentive was, that if human trafficking, they had a blind eye to it, or they were using child labor in violation of federal and state child labor laws, that I don't know who would be against making those folks pay money back to the coffers of the state of Alabama. But that one hadn't come up. I didn't even request the one that's on here. I didn't. The one that's on here, I didn't even request that it come up, but it's on here, and it's on child support. So if we get to this bill today, I'll get a chance to talk about that on the child support. I'm just saying again, we all have a constituency to serve, every last one of us in this body. And it shouldn't be that 8 out of the 35 don't have the opportunity to get their bills heard. And so with that, Ms. Minority Leader, I don't know if you have anything else to mention about the calendar, but I just could not take one more session day without saying something when it comes to just getting a fair hearing in committee. They either fail, or they get a favorable report, or they get put into a subcommittee, some type of action to happen on the legislation. We work as hard on our legislation as folks across the aisle do. Some of these pieces that I've had for many years. Constituency groups counting on me. But we can't even get a fair hearing. What am I going to tell my people back home when their legislator cannot even get a fair hearing on the pieces of legislation that they care about? Again, they're taxpayers. Their money is also included in the general fund and the education trust fund. They are equal citizens in the state of Alabama, so the issues that they care about, we should have an opportunity to at least have a hearing, voted up or down. In most cases, we already know what's going to happen, but at least allow the vote to happen. And sometimes you never know. You get a fair hearing, get a public hearing. People may change hearts and minds, but they never get a chance to do that if the bills never come up in committee. And so, again, to my chairman from Jefferson County, my rules chair, he can't do anything. I can't request a bill for him to even put on the calendar if it never even made it out of the committee structure. And then the thing I want y'all to think about, when I first was elected in 2002, I would have never imagined, when I was first elected in 2002, I think, in this body upstairs, there were 21 Democrats. Might have been 25 Democrats in this body in '02. Downstairs in the House, there were 66 Democrats out of 105. I would have never imagined a complete shift, complete changeover. I would have never imagined, would have never thought that would happen. I want you all to start thinking about that too. Because politics comes in a cycle. It's a cycle. So when you're in the minority, or your children, or your grandchildren may be in the minority, when it flips, this might be the way that they're treated. The bills that they care about, the constituency that they support, they never get a fair hearing. And we just shouldn't do that. Just allow the bills to come up, take the up or down vote, and then either we come out of it and we're excited, or either we start again the next year. But to never get a committee hearing, that's the portion right there. We never even got off the, what do they call those blocks? You know, when you're in the race, you never get a chance to get off the block
Off the starting
at all
block.
to run the race. Actually, I guess nobody even shot the gun yet because the race hadn't started.
Oh, no.
Right? So with that, Mr. Chair, no further comments from me at this time. I see that the gentlelady is looking to be recognized.
All right, thank you, Senator Coleman. Senator Coleman Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to continue this conversation because Senator Coleman is absolutely correct. And I'm just asking my colleagues on the other sides, in particular those who are chairs, to just be fair. Now, when it comes down to committee meetings, if I'm not in your meeting, I think I would put my attendance record up against any of you when it comes down to having attendance at committee meetings. A lot of my bills are not on there. I'm working to help get your bills out because I understand that, as Senator Coleman says, we all have a constituency that we are responsible and accountable to. I typically like to file bills early, especially when it comes down to those that are locally related or things that my people in my district have asked me to sponsor. Senate Bill 3 and Senate Bill 9 are those bills. You don't get those numbers by waiting until the session starts. From day one, I requested that these bills be put in committee and be heard. Today, I am still waiting. I don't not come to committees because my bill is not on there, because all bills are important. I consider your bills are important. And if I have a discussion on your bill, I'm only trying to make it better. If I have a real issue with your bill where I disagree, I'm going to come to you and tell you that. If I can't support it, I'll tell you that, and I'm going to tell you why I can't support it, not what somebody else has told me. But these bills involve local governments simply trying to clean up their cities, do away with blighted areas. Now, we did get that particular bill out of committee. I'm hoping that it is on the calendar. That was Senate Bill 9. The city of Birmingham is an urbanized area where we have a lot of blight. Tornadoes had a lot of issues to do with that. I've had citizens to call me that live adjacent to houses that have been burned down or partially destroyed, and their houses are being vandalized. One of my neighbors' house has been vandalized. They've broken into 7 times. He is afraid to stay at home right now because there's a blighting effect next to him that we need to get rid of. The city of Birmingham needs to come to the state of Alabama to ask permission to clean up their own city, to make it safe. I'll tell you another reason why, if I would ask my colleagues on the Democrat side, Mr. Chairman, if we could get a little order on my side of the aisle for a little, they're loud, they're a little loud over there. Thank you.
Senator, ask if y'all could keep it down.
Cuts across both ways, guys. In Birmingham, those kind of houses that are still there that are creating a blight in our neighborhood, not only do they bring down property values, they are a haven for drug dealers, for people who steal things and take it into those houses and wait to come back at night to go back and get it. And I can tell you, we had, in one section of the area where I live in, we had 3 houses that were broken into right in a row. They stored it in an abandoned, burned out house and would come back at night. And somebody decided to go in there and they found a lot of those goods. But it was the 3rd house that had been broken into. It is a serious issue that we are trying to deal with, but we have to come to Montgomery with our hat in the hand. Senate Bill 9 will enable us to do that. But Mobile has already done it. This law was, this act or bill was fashioned after Mobile, and so we are simply asking for that same right. And Senate Bill 3 simply makes other amendments to the land bank that I think is going to really revolutionize all urbanized cities and those who take advantage of it. That's why it is a statewide bill. But on today, and I'm thankful for the chairman who put the Housing Trust Fund bill that's on there, that bill was passed.
All right, time's expired on
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, all right. The motion was using the previous roll. Any objection? All right, hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
Thirty-one ayes, 0 nays. The special order calendar is adopted. All right, now move on to the first order of business, which is introduction of bills. Any senators have any bills that need to be introduced?
Senate Bill number 306 by Senator Melson relating to medical cannabis is referred to the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry. Senate Bill number 307 by Senator Coleman and others relating to contraception is referred to the Judiciary Committee. Senate Bill number 308 by Senator Allen regarding a supplemental appropriation is referred to the Committee on Finance and Taxation General Fund. Senate Bill number 309 by Senator Livingston relating to sales taxes is referred to the Committee on Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development. Senate Bill number 310 by Senator Kelly relating to the City of Jacksonville in Calhoun County is referred to the Committee on Local Legislation. Senate Bill number 311 by Senator Kitchens and others relating to public education is referred to the Committee on Education Policy. Yeah, it's got to be. Senate Bill 312 by Senator Barfoot relating to pardons and paroles is referred to the Judiciary Committee. Senate Bill number 313 by Senator Singleton relating to health insurance is referred to the Committee on Banking and Insurance. Senate Bill number 314 by Senator Barfoot relating to medical records is referred to the Committee on Health Care. Senate Bill number 315 by Senator Singleton relating to the Alabama Rural Agribusiness and Opportunity Zone Jobs Act is referred to the Committee on Finance and Taxation General Fund. Senate Bill number 316 by Senator Hatcher regarding the Sheriff of Montgomery County is referred to the Committee on Local Legislation.
All right. Any other introduction of bills? Last call. Anybody else? All right, now move on to House messages. Secretary, call the first House message.
Message from the House, Mr. President. The House of Representatives has originated and passed the following engrossed House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate. House Bill number 8 by Representative Brown relating to cancellation, non-renewal, or restriction of coverage under a property insurance policy is referred to the Committee on Banking and Insurance. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House, Mr. President. The House of Representatives originated and passed the following engrossed House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate. House Bill number 182 by Representative Lipscomb relating to crimes and offenses is referred to the Committee on County and Municipal Government. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House, Mr. President. The House of Representatives has originated and passed the following engrossed House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate. House Bill number 188 by Representative Collins relating to public education is referred to the Committee on Education Policy. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House, Mr. President. The House of Representatives originated and passed the following engrossed House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate. House Bill number 209 by Representative Oliver and Stubbs relating to boats and boating on fresh waters of this state is referred to the Committee on Transportation and Energy. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House, Mr. President. The House of Representatives originated and passed the following engrossed House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate. House Bill number 215 by Representative Fiddler relating to natural resources is referred to the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House. Mr. President, the House of Representatives originated and passed the following engrossed House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate. House Bill number 220 by Representative Ellis and others relating to transient occupancy tax is referred to the Committee on Finance and Taxation General Fund. Message from the House, Mr. President. The House of Representatives originated and passed the following engrossed House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate. House Bill number 307 by Representative Oliver and others regarding emergency telephone services is referred to the Committee on Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. 307. House Bill 307. Message from the House, Mr. President. The House of Representatives originated and passed the following House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate without engrossment. House Bill number 212 by Representative Kyle regarding retirement benefits is referred to the Committee on Finance and Taxation General Fund. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House, Mr. President. The House of Representatives originated and passed the following House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate without engrossment. House Bill number 229 by Representative Bolton relating to state symbols is referred to the Committee on State Governmental Affairs. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House, Mr. President. The House of Representatives originated and passed the following House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate without engrossment. House Bill number 83 by Representative Estes regarding compensation to local boards of education is referred to the Committee on Education Policy. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House. Mr. President, the House of Representatives originated and passed the following engrossed House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate. House Bill number 211 by Representative Kyle relating to traffic infractions is referred to the Committee on Veterans and Military Affairs and Public Safety. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House. Mr. President, the House of Representatives originated and passed the following House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate without engrossment. House Bill number 34 by Representative Hill regarding judicial compensation is referred to the Judiciary Committee. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk. Message from the House. Mr. President, the House of Representatives has originated and passed the following House bill and ordered same sent forthwith to the Senate without engrossment. House Bill number 167 by Representative Sells and others regarding consumer protection is referred to the Committee on Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development. Signed, John Treadwell, Clerk.
This concludes House messages. Next, move on to committee reports. Secretary, call the first committee.
From the Committee on Confirmations, Senate Confirmation number 96, appointing David K. Pritchett to the Adjutant General of the Alabama Military Department, receives a favorable report by a vote of 11 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate confirms David K. Pritchett as Adjutant General to the National Guard using previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
31 ayes, 0 nays. David Pritchett's confirmed. Secretary, call the next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmations, Senate Confirmation number 87, appointing Michael Evans to the Alabama Army National Guard, promotion to the rank of Major General, receives a favorable report by a vote of 11 ayes and 0 nays.
Senator Weaver.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate confirms Michael D. Evans from Brigadier General to Major General for the Alabama National Guard using previous role with no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. Michael Evans is confirmed. Secretary, call next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmations, Senate Confirmation number 88, appointing Kendrick Traylor to the Alabama Army National Guard, promotion to the rank of Major General, receives a favorable report by a vote of 11 ayes and 0 nays.
I move that the Senate confirms Kendrick Traylor from Brigadier General to Major General for the Alabama National Guard using previous role with no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. Kendrick Traylor is confirmed. Secretary, call next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmation, Senate Confirmation number 89, appointing Michael Izzo to the Alabama Army National Guard, rank of Major General, receives a favorable report by a vote of 11 ayes and 0 nays.
Senator Weaver.
I move that the Senate confirms Michael Izzo from Brigadier General to Major General of the Alabama National Guard using previous role with no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. Michael Izzo is confirmed. Secretary, call next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmation, Senate Confirmation number 90, appointing Jeffrey Smith to the Alabama Army National Guard, rank of Major General, receives a favorable report by a vote of 11 ayes and 0 nays.
Senator Weaver.
I move that the Senate confirms Jeffrey M. Smith from Brigadier General to Major General of the Alabama National Guard using previous role with no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. Jeffrey Smith is confirmed. Secretary, call next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmation, Senate Confirmation number 91, appointing David Crenshaw, the Army National Guard, rank of Brigadier General, receives a favorable report.
Senator Weaver.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate confirms David Crenshaw from Brigadier General to Major General using previous role with no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered. Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, so, yeah, it's, okay, it's fine. If you'll just move, if you just previous roll.
I move for previous role with no objection.
All right, let me get the screen back right.
Still on the same one. David Crenshaw, yeah, we're doing previous roll. Screen's down. 32 ayes, 0 nays.
All right, 32 ayes, 0 nays. Confirmation's approved. Right, all right. Secretary, call next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmations, Senate Confirmation Number 92, appointing John Fleet to the Alabama Army National Guard, rank of Brigadier General, receives a favorable report by a vote of 11 ayes and 0 nays.
All right, Senator Weaver.
Mr. President, I move that John Fleet be confirmed from Colonel to Brigadier General using previous role with no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
All right, 32 ayes, 0 nays. The confirmation's approved. Secretary, call next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmations, Senate Confirmation Number 93, appointing Dewana Butler to the Army National Guard, rank of Brigadier General, receives a favorable report by a vote of 11 ayes and 0 nays.
Senator Weaver.
So I'd like to make a clarification. We have 5 that are colonels that are going to Brigadier General, and it's different up on the board, but they are colonels moving to Brigadier General. And this is one of those. So with that, I would like to move that the Senate confirms Colonel Dewana Butler to the rank of Brigadier General, Alabama National Guard. Previous role, no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. Dewana Butler's confirmed. Secretary, call next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmation, Senate Confirmation Number 94, appointing Matthew Vallis to the Army National Guard, rank of Brigadier General, receives a favorable report by a vote of 11 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate confirms Colonel Matthew Vallis to the rank of Brigadier General for the Alabama National Guard using previous role, no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. Matthew Vallis is confirmed. Secretary, call next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmation, Senate Confirmation Number 95, appointing Andrew Conant to the Army National Guard, rank of Brigadier General, receives a favorable report by a vote of 11 ayes and 0 nays.
Senator Weaver.
So, Mr. President, I move that the Senate confirms Colonel Andrew Conant to the rank of Brigadier General for the Alabama National Guard using previous role with no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. Andrew Conant's confirmed. Secretary, call next confirmation.
From the Committee on Confirmations, Senate Confirmation Number 60, appointing Scott Stadhagen to the University of West Alabama Board of Trustees, receives a favorable report by a vote of 14 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr.
Senator
President,
Weaver.
I move that the Senate confirms the Honorable Scott Stadhagen to the University of West Alabama Board of Trustees using previous role, no objection.
Any objection? All right.
I talked to Roger. Use the previous rule, no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Straw written. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. Scott Stadhagen's confirmed.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other committees? All right, Secretary called next committee.
From the Committee on County and Municipal Government, Senate Bill number 270 receives a favorable report by a vote of 6 ayes and 0 nays. From County and Municipal Government, Senate Bill number 291 receives a favorable report with 1 amendment by a vote of 7 ayes and 0 nays. From County and Municipal Government, Senate Bill number 292 receives a favorable report by a vote of 7 ayes and 0 nays. From the Committee on County and Municipal Government, Senate Bill number 303 receives a favorable report with 1 amendment by a vote of 7 ayes and 0 nays. From the Committee on County and Municipal Government, Senate Bill number 260 receives a favorable report with 1 amendment by a vote of 7 ayes and 0 nays.
These bills received a second reading to be placed on the calendar for next legislative day. Secretary called next committee.
From the Committee on Local Legislation, Senate Bill number 20 receives a favorable report. From the Committee on Local Legislation, Senate Bill number 262 receives a favorable report. From Local Legislation, Senate Bill number 261 receives a favorable report. From Local Legislation, Senate Bill number 263 receives a favorable report. From the Committee on Local Legislation, Senate Bill number 267 receives a favorable report. From Local Legislation, House Bill number 2 receives a favorable report. From Local Legislation, House Bill number 106 receives a favorable report. From Local Legislation, House Bill number 107 receives a favorable report. From the Committee on Local Legislation, House Bill number 109 receives a favorable report. From the Committee on Local Legislation, House Bill number 114 receives a favorable report. From the Committee on Local Legislation, House Bill number 115 receives a favorable report. From the Committee on Local Legislation, House Bill number 179 receives a favorable report. From the Committee on Local Legislation, House Bill number 193 receives a favorable report.
These bills will receive a second reading and be placed on the calendar for the next legislative day. Secretary, call the next committee report.
From the Committee on Local Legislation, Shelby County, House Bill number 89 receives a favorable report by a vote of 3 ayes and 0 nays. From the Committee on Local Legislation, Shelby County, House Bill number 328 receives a favorable report by a vote of 3 ayes and 0 nays.
These bills have received a second reading and will be placed on the calendar for the next legislative day. This concludes committee reports. Now move on to motions and resolutions. Any motions or resolutions? All right, clerk, call the first bill on the special order calendar.
On page 53 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 252 by Senator Reed and others regarding the Alabama Growth Alliance. BR pending.
Senator Reed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate it very much. Ladies and gentlemen, if you will allow me as we get started on this legislation, I want to speak to each of you for a moment as to what we're trying to do today. We've got, thanks to the Rules Chairman, certainly a robust calendar of 41 pieces of legislation, and that's a lot. We're up to it. I'm going to encourage you, if we get to a place to where you've got an amendment, you've got something that needs to be added, you've got thought and work that you've put into some of this legislation, move on to the microphones and let's get it worked on, make sure everybody knows what we're doing. I would ask that you explain things very effectively, as I know each of you can, as we come to the microphone to talk about all this legislation. We're going to be at the beginning of this is going to be a series of legislation that is a package that the governor's worked on related to workforce and workforce participation. We've had a lot of discussion on this in committee. I've gotten great input from both Democrats and Republicans on this. We're going to have several additional amendments today. I see my colleague at the microphone that's going to be offering, another colleague that's going to be offering. So that's just my encouragement. If we get to a place where we got an issue and a challenge on something, and we need more time to work on it, then I'm going to ask that you carry things over so that our colleagues can continue to manage it and work on it, and we can all be able to have some good accomplishment today. So with that, Mr. President, the first piece of legislation in this package I'm privileged to carry, which is called the Alabama Growth Alliance. This alliance is basically a group that's going to be led by Governor Ivey, that's consistent as both a public and private sector leaders are going to be collaborating, coordinating, being accountable across the state for economic development entities and sectors and stakeholders working together on what's best for Alabama's economic future. And so with this, the alliance, in the structure of the alliance, it doesn't have any power to be able to say this is what we're going to do in areas of economic development, but it is going to be a great tool working with public members and private members to give advice to the Department of Commerce as to what we do working collaboratively in making sure that Alabama is doing all it can moving forward in growing our economy. And I think that kind of engagement and involvement is going to be important to helping our state continue to grow and move forward. So in looking at this structure as a public-private partnership, I've got some examples of some things related to this that I think have worked well. One that I'll mention that I've been very involved in for the last 3 years is Innovate Alabama, which has public members and private members working together, looking for ways to come up with growth in that specific segment of our coming economy, which is the knowledge-based economy. And having all of the private sector folks giving their thoughts and ideas with the public sector folks and everybody coming together with good collaboration, it has yielded really strong outcomes, and I am trusting that this is going to be the same kind of thing. So let me go into a little bit more of the detail here because of some things that I want my colleagues to be able to be recognized, Mr. President, to talk about. Some of the feedback that I've gotten as to how this legislation can be made better. First off, I think what I would like to do, Mr. President, if I can, we have, and I think we'll need to adopt an amendment that is a committee amendment. And so if we have that committee amendment.
All right. We need to, whenever you're ready, adopt the BIR.
That'd be a great place to start. So
move adoption of the BIR using previous rule with no objection.
All right, any objection?
Thank you,
Hearing
Senator.
none, so ordered.
Hey, I'm not up here too often doing this.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The BIR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 53 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 252 by Senator Reed and others regarding economic development. Committee amendment pending.
All right, Senator Reed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now, we have a committee amendment, and I would like to adopt the committee amendment using the previous rule without objection.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The committee amendment's adopted. All right, Senator Reed.
Mr. President, thank you. Let me speak to that amendment just a little bit so that I think it's important that I follow the rules as to what I've asked of you, which is the membership being able to explain the things that they're doing. In this legislation, I had great feedback from the gentleman from Cullman County who gave me good feedback on line 130, page 5 in the legislation. It gave more definition to the board and it's working with third-party contractors, as well as on lines 178 and 179 on page 7, it added to what are going to be additional appointments for members to this alliance for the Lieutenant Governor, the President Pro Tem, and the Speaker of the House. And in a moment, Mr. President, we will have another amendment that's going to add more to that, that's coming from the gentlelady from Jefferson. But that was adopted in that, and I appreciate the gentleman from Cullman being able to offer that. Also, there's been some great work done. This is reflected in the amendment related to line 287 on page 11. Great work done by the Joint Legislative Advisory Committee on Economic Incentives. This group has done fantastic work in analyzing incentives of all kinds that are being put to the test to make sure they're paying off in dividends for the people of Alabama. So that was addressed in that amendment as well. So with that, Mr. President, what I need to move now to adopt the amendment, we've already adopted the committee amendment. So now my colleague, I think, has another important topic that he wants to talk with us about in regards to an amendment.
All right, Senator Gavan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Pro Tem, I thought you were filibustering your own bill there for a second, but I thought maybe you just
I'm
were
trying
afraid
to be
I was
an
going
example,
to
Senator.
talk about the BIR, and you just rather not have me talk.
Thank you for making
But in
my
all
motion.
seriousness, I do have an amendment.
All right, Secretary Reed, receive the amendment.
Amendment to Senate Bill 252 by Senator Gavan. Replace lines 336 through 347 on pages 12 and 13 with the following.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. So this is this was lawyer in this, Mr. Pro Tem. The way the language was originally worded gave me a little concerned about passing off powers to a third-party economic development entity that was defined. And through having some conversation with representatives of the governor's office and some other interested stakeholders, we came up with this language that would clarify what it would be that economic development group would be doing. And basically, they'd be contracted for periodic evaluations of our competitiveness with other states, and then analyzing basically the impact of economic trends and conditions. So if there are any questions, I'd be glad to address them. If not, I would move adoption of the amendment using previous roll without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The Senator Gavan amendment's adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem, for working with me on this.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate your legal intellect being applied in this particular topic. With that, Mr. President, I've got another legal mind that's coming to the microphone that we've had great discussion in committee on some issues that are associated with inclusion of some minority members. That is very important to me, and I am excited that the senator from Jefferson, the gentlelady, is here to talk with me about it. So,
all right, Senator Coleman.
Thank you for the recognition. And thank the gentleman, too, for working so well with me on getting these amendments together. And I want to take this opportunity, too, to commend the governor for what she's trying to do in workforce development. That's where the rubber meets the road. You know, that's the kind of stuff that we can all go home and be proud of what we've done, trying to recruit industry, also making sure that our existing industry has the tools that it needs in order to grow. So I'm glad to be a part of this effort. But in this effort, because it's such a, this is new, it's innovative, it's exciting, on the appointment power, in committee, we changed those appointees to some members of the legislature at no fault of anybody's. There were 2 members that were left off, and that was the minority leader of the House of the Representatives and the minority leader of the Senate. So I do have an amendment to offer.
All right, Secretary Reed, receive the amendment.
Amendment to Senate Bill 252 by Senator Coleman. Replace lines 163 through 164 on page 6 with the following. Replace line 167 on page 6 with the following.
All right, Senator Coleman.
Move passage of the amendment.
Would you like to use previous roll?
Yes, sir.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Straw Britton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. Senator Coleman, amendment is adopted. Thanks, Senator Coleman.
Thank you. And I have a second amendment, which really I could have talked about both of them together. Wanted to make sure that with the governor's brainchild and all that she's doing, she has an adequate number of appointments on this particular committee. So what this amendment does is it takes the governor's appointments from 3 to 5 at-large members. So with that, I have an amendment to offer.
All right, Secretary Reed, receive the amendment.
Amendment to Senate Bill 252 by Senator Coleman. Replace line 163 on page 6 with the following. Replace line 178 on page 7 with the following.
All right, Senator Coleman.
Move adoption of the amendment using previous roll.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Straw Britton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The Senator Coleman amendment number 2 is adopted.
Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Coleman. Senator Reed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to thank the gentlelady from Jefferson and her bringing that to my attention and working with me diligently, and also with the governor's office, making sure that those were included as they should have been. So with that, I've had good discussions with my colleague, the gentleman from Morgan, and I think he has some things to offer and discuss with me as well. So,
All right, Senator Orr.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had an amendment.
All right, Secretary Reed, receive the amendment.
Amendment to Senate Bill 252 by Senator Orr. After line 196 on page 7, add the following new subsection and re-letter the remaining subsections accordingly. Replace line 236 on page 9 with the following. On page 9, delete lines 241 through 248 inclusive and re-letter the remaining subsections accordingly. Replace line 322 on page 12 with the following. Replace line 384 on page 14 with the following.
Mr. President.
All right, Senator Orr.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just a few hodgepodge of things regarding the bill. It puts the board members under the Ethics Act, and also a little bit regarding meetings, and then the as far as changing the articles of incorporation, that would be the governor, the speaker, and the lieutenant and the pro tem that would do that. And I would move adoption of the amendment using the previous roll if there's no objection. And I talked to the sponsor about this a little while ago.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Straw Britton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The Senator Orr amendment's adopted. All right, Senator Reed.
thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I want to thank the gentleman from Morgan and for his engagement and involvement in the legislation and being able to add some things to make it better. I appreciate the support that I have in the body related to the legislation. I'm excited about where we're going with economic growth, economic development. Governor, I'll take this opportunity to thank you in regards to some of the work that you did with your commission in being able to help us stay focused on workforce development, workforce participation, our economic growth, opportunities, and working with the Department of Commerce, as well as some of the other legislation that we're going to hear coming that are on this calendar that many that you are engaged in and working with your commission. So I want to thank you for that. I think these are exciting elements. We've got to put them to work, make them pay off for the benefit of Alabama. But with that, Mr. President, I would move without any other question for third reading using the previous roll without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 252 passes. Thanks, Senator Reed. Appreciate your leadership.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate.
All right, Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 52 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 247 by Senator Livingston and others regarding the Workforce Transformation Act. BIR pending.
All right, Senator Livingston.
Mr. President, good morning.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I would ask for the BIR using previous role with no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, no nays.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The BIR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 52 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 247 by Senator Livingston and others regarding the Alabama Workforce Transformation Act. Committee amendment pending.
Mr. President,
Senator Livingston.
I would move the adoption of the committee amendment.
All right, would you like to use
previous role.
Okay. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The committee amendment is adopted. Senator Livingston.
Mr. President, this bill is the Alabama Workforce Transformation Act. This merges this will merge and consolidate duplicative workforce development agencies, programs, funding mechanisms into a single repurposed agency that will be led by a cabinet level position. The Alabama Workforce Board will be led by an executive committee comprised of Alabama business executives that will develop a statewide plan, workforce development plan, working with under one budget for workforce development activities, and work with the Secretary of Workforce. This will also change the name of the agency from the Secretary of Labor or Department of Labor to the Department of Workforce and the Secretary of Labor. And I see my colleague across the way has some conversation or amendments.
Mr. President.
All right, Senator Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Leader. Big fan of this piece of legislation. As you know, I'm working on a couple of little tweaks to the Department of Labor myself right now.
You're the tweaker, aren't you?
And I do, after conversation, obviously, with the bill sponsor, have another conglomeration and consolidation, if you will, of amendments, about 8 different ones, most of which are housekeeping in nature, and I'd like to offer that amendment at this time.
All right, Secretary Reed received the amendment.
Amendment to Senate Bill 247 by Senator Elliott. Replace line 262 on page 10 with the following.
Mr. President.
Replace line 276 on 277 on page 10 with the following. Replace line 282 on page 11 with the following and re-letter the subsequent subsections accordingly, serving as such. Replace line 297 on page 11 with the following. Replace lines 314 and 315 on page 12 with the following. Replace line 338 on page 13 with the following. Replace line 388 on page 14 with the following. Replace line 665 on page 24 with the following.
All right, Senator Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry, I did say it was a conglomeration of about 8 amendments, and I needed to give him the time to read those. I apologize. But members, this just deals with the transfer of state employees into this new agency. Clarifies that division chiefs currently employed by the Department of Labor will retain their status in the merit system. Gives the Secretary of Workforce 3 additional exempt positions. Clarifies that the Secretary of Workforce and not the division chief is employing personnel at the department, and that the Secretary will appoint that department. There's some other language that clears up how this works with federal statute, and clarifies that it is the only referring to any conflicting federal law or regulations, and ensures our friends the typical diversity language, and then adds the qualifier where appropriate to the responsibilities of AIDT, so that they have the flexibility that they need to perform their duties. And
Senator Elliott, I think this is a friendly amendment. Yes, sir.
Very good. Well, with that, I'd move adoption of the amendment using the previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The Senator Elliott amendment's adopted. Thanks, Senator Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I think Senator Singleton has some conversation too.
All right, Senator Singleton.
Yes, Mr. President, thank you very much. As we look at this bill has an appointed authority by the governor and some other members. And I think this board is going to be about 40 members on this board.
Yes, sir.
And there's specific criteria based on what the federal government say they must be and how they must be appointed based on where they must be appointed from, labor, business, etc. And so we're not trying to stop that, and I think there's some minority participation language in this bill.
There is, yes.
But I want to make sure, what I also want to do is to make sure that when we look at this board, that they become Senate confirmed. And this is an agreement that we've had based on them being Senate confirmed. This doesn't mess with the federal dollars, so we'll make sure
We have confirmed that, correct, Senator?
Sir?
We have confirmed that,
We
correct?
have confirmed that this does not interfere with any federal dollar. We've talked to the federal government today. They said there's nothing out there that no one can show you, or there's nothing in our rules to say that they cannot come under confirmation in it, that it would affect your dollars. The only thing that would possibly affect your dollars if there was an interference in the way that they are appointed. If the governor gave me her appointment, then that may affect it when she has to have that appointment herself.
Okay.
Okay. Other than that, governor appoints all the time, and we come back and affirm. It's not stopping. As long as she appoint from those categories and meet those criteria, they can still be confirmed by the Senate. And I want to offer this amendment, Mr. President, just basically giving Senate confirmation. Let me just.
All right, before we do that, I want to recognize a very special guest on the floor, Representative Scott Stadhagen, the newest member of the West Alabama Board of Trustees. Welcome to the Alabama Senate, Representative Stadhagen. All right, Secretary, read and receive the amendment.
Amendment to Senate Bill 247 by Senator Singleton. Replace line 372 on page 14 with the following.
It's good.
All right, Senator Singleton.
I will move for adoption of the amendment using previous rule without objection. Let the gentleman have some.
Any objection?
No objection. We consider it a friendly amendment.
All right. Hearing none, so ordered.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The Senator Singleton amendment's adopted. Senator Coleman Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Livingston, I did have some questions about it, but after going over the bill, because I know I had signed off, really, it was a good bill. I just wanted to make sure that it does include, as far as the board members, it's reflective of all the people that are in the state of Alabama. And I noticed that this is a 40-member board.
Yes, ma'am.
So the possibility of it being reflective as far as all of the workforce and populations and diversity in this state would be represented. It won't be a case, I'm hoping that we will say, well, we can't find people to serve, because out of 40 people to serve, certainly we should be able to do that. So the objection that I had originally and the questions that I had, I just wanted you to know that I'm okay with it now.
I certainly appreciate that. Thank you, Senator.
Yeah. Thank you, Senator Coleman Madison. All right. Senator Livingston, did you want to be recognized? All right, you can. Yeah, you're Senator Coleman.
You act like she's afraid of it.
No, well, I'm still getting used to the rules down here, how it works, right? So I just wanted to also echo the sentiments of my colleague. I believe I'm a co-sponsor. My co-sponsor on here, I am.
I think you are, yes, ma'am.
And support the legislation. When you were in committee, I also mentioned on your piece of legislation about the appointment power and adding the minority leaders in both the House and the Senate. I've had various people to come through to me throughout the day today to say that, we could risk losing federal funds through, what is it, WIOA? Is that what it is?
Yes, ma'am.
So now, of course, when somebody tells me that, I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research to see if indeed that is the case. And so the first thing we did was to get in contact with LSA, our folks that are right here, within the building. And I was assured that by adding the 2 members, they didn't see that this was gonna be a violation of WIOA or us losing federal funds. In addition to that, you're familiar with NCSL.
Yes.
Most of us are active members. They actually have a person that is designated specifically for federal labor issues. That person also said by adding those 2 members, we will not risk losing our federal funds. But unfortunately, I don't have the amendment ready. We thought we had it ready, but it was actually it was for the House version of the bill, not this one.
Okay.
But I did want to come on record, so I am going to still support it in the absence of the amendment, because I do think that the confirmations process will, what we just did with the minority leader here,
Yes.
that gives us an opportunity to have some influence. But I don't know, we actually talked about this particular issue in the Black Caucus today. It was a part of our agenda, is one of the issues we talked about. So I don't know if somebody downstairs, once it goes downstairs, but I'm going to support it today in the absence of the amendment. And I just challenge what was told to us about how we would risk losing federal funds by adding those 2 members. But still going to vote for it today. And thank you for your hard work on this bill. And thank you for your willingness to take the amendment when we discussed it, but then you end up getting some bad information.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that. So trying to move Alabama forward.
Thanks, Senator Coleman. All right, Senator Orr.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's hear about all that hard work on this bill, Senator.
Senator Orr, how are you today, sir?
Mr. Leader, I got a point to make, and I don't know who's listening out in cyberland over the internet on the code, but over the cameras. But I'm looking at page 26, and there's another provision earlier in the bill, same topic. And that is regarding the code commissioner is directed to recodify as one of your in-house attorneys. That's a terrible practice. We shouldn't do that. That's bad, Senator. I know you worked hard on this, writing it, and wanted that code commissioner to do all that recodifying, but that's not how we do it. So for those that are listening, it's looking on the microphone, on the camera, I hope we don't see that again, because otherwise I'll be over here jumping up and down, saying we can't pass this bill in that shape.
We like to see you jump now.
Well, it's not very high. You can guarantee you that. Other than that, I think you've got a motion to make.
All right.
Mr. President, move for final passage using previous role. No objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 247 passes. Thanks, Senator Livingston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, body.
All right, Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 51 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 253 by Senator Chasteen and others regarding the Alabama Workforce Pathways Act. BR pending.
Senator Chasteen.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I'd like to move to adopt the BIR using previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 51 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 253 by Senator Chasteen regarding the Alabama Workforce Pathways Act. Committee amendment pending.
Senator Chasteen.
Mr. President, I'd like to adopt the committee amendment using previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The committee amendment's adopted. All right, Senator Chasteen.
Mr. President, I have a floor amendment I'd like to offer at this time.
All right, Secretary, read and receive the amendment, please.
Yeah. Let me wait.
Amendment to Senate Bill 253 by Senator Chasteen. Replace line 49 on page 2 with the following. Replace line 62 through 63 on page 3 with the following.
All right, Senator Chasteen.
I'd to adopt the floor amendment using previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 253. I'm sorry. The Senator Chasteen amendment's adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Senator Gudger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have an amendment also for this particular bill.
All right, Secretary, read and receive the amendment.
Amendment to Senate Bill 253 by Senator Gudger. Replace line 70 on page 3 with the following.
Mr. President.
Senator Gudger.
Thank you. I'd just like to make a motion to go forward unless you would like to talk about this particular amendment.
Well, it is a friendly amendment, and I would like to move forward. I appreciate your work on this. We talked about this in committee last week, and just making sure that there is a pathway forward for these students who choose the Workforce Pathway Diploma and then decide that's not the route they would like to go, they'd like the opportunity to get into higher ed. So, yes, friendly amendment, and I'd like to adopt that.
Thank you for accepting it, and I'd like to make a motion to adopt the amendment.
All right, using previous roll?
Using previous roll without objection, please.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. Senator Gudger, amendment's adopted. All right, Senator Chastain.
Thank you. Mr. President, this bill has been, this is part of the workforce package that we've been working on, and this commission's been working since 2019. One of the problems that we have, as we're all aware of, is the low labor participation rate that we have in the state. What this bill will allow is for students that are not going to college after they graduate from high school to earn a diploma that would prepare them for the workforce. And what this will do is it will allow them to take 2 less math and 2 less science courses, and they will enroll in a career technical program that will give them the diploma they need where they can enter into the workforce. If there are no questions, I move for final passage.
All right. Any objection? Or you want to speak on this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'd like to be recognized.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, it has been a privilege to work together on this whole topic since 19, and I am so grateful to see this result in this legislation. I support it, and I just want to say thank you, Governor, for your leadership throughout, ever since I got here in 18 to work on workforce development. I'm proud of you. Thank you. And also our corporate partners have been amazing to work with. So great leadership. Thank you, Senator.
All right. Thanks, Senator Roberts. All right, got a motion for final passage using previous roll. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 253 passes. Thanks, Senator Chastain.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate your leadership in this effort.
Same to you. Thank you. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 56 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 243 by Senator Roberts and others regarding economic development. BR pending.
All right, Senator Roberts.
Mr. President, I'd like to go ahead and move BIR with no objection, please.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 56 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 243 by Senator Roberts and others regarding economic development.
Senator Roberts.
President, this is a bill, and then it's enabling legislation. The bill following this on the calendar have been worked on at great length. I hold in my hand changes that were made even this morning, and we're close but not there. This deals with economic development and then the state law authorizing counties and municipalities to provide for innovation districts as public corporations and authorize innovation districts and their use of public funds for public or private persons, authorizing this to go into action. And Senator Singleton will talk more about his bill to follow. Tremendous amounts of work have gone into this, and there's still a few issues that are being worked out at this time. So I would like to ask that this be carried over at the moment to be brought back as soon as we can get these issues resolved. But there are a lot of working parts still going on, and I'm grateful for the effort that have been put forth so
All right, all those
far.
in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, the Senate Bill 243 is carried over. All right, Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 55 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 242 by Senator Singleton and others regarding innovation districts. BR pending.
Mr. President, I'd like to move for the BR use of preview without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 55 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 242 by Senator Singleton and others regarding economic districts. Committee substitute pending.
All right, Senator Singleton.
Yes, Mr. President. Thank you, body and Mr. President. I know this is one of the most controversial pieces of this workforce legislation, that a lot of hours have been put into this piece of legislation on these innovative districts that basically will give counties and cities another tool in the toolbox to be able to help recruit industry in that area. While I know it was kind of broad by giving them taxing powers, giving them eminent domain powers, allowing them to be able to have powers of no competitive bids. But at the end of the day, all of these bodies have gotten together and we came up with a sub, and the sub will allow for additional requirements for public notice and public meetings, as well as the notice of property owners may be affected by the district. It also adds language and removes some language to ensure that boundaries of an innovative district must be within the boundaries of the authority jurisdiction, authorizing jurisdiction. I heard something that was so crazy on my way down here today, that someone thought that, for example, that if Birmingham wanted to sit one up in Mobile, then they could. So we just want to make sure that we get that out of the air, that doesn't happen and cannot happen, so that you can't sit up a district. You can't sit up that. No, I was just giving an example. You don't have to get up. I know I called Birmingham name. You don't have to get up. You don't have to get up. Just hold your horses. I was just giving an example. You have to ring him in. And so it also clarified that the district does not have the power of eminent domain over any other entity or jurisdiction, nor any tax abatement over any other jurisdiction. It also clarifies that no educational dollars or dollars otherwise committed by the authorizing jurisdiction may be allocated or abated by the district. It clarifies that property within the boundaries of an innovative district owned by a private party would be subject to taxation. It also changes to say that a majority of appointment of the district board must be by a majority. And so this is a little bit complicated, and a lot of work is going in it. We're still trying to work on it. There are some parties that's on the hallway who are interested in it, and I appreciate everyone who have come to the table, who have added a lot to this bill. And yes, the bill was a little bit broad, and y'all have reined it in. I still think it has a little bit more work to do. If the gentleman at the other mic has something to say about this, I will yield to that gentleman before asking for this bill to be carried over.
All right, Senator Orr.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, thank you for your willingness to work on it. I know there's a sub floating around that I got about an hour ago. Let me say this. This is about the worst bill, one of the worst bills I think I've ever seen. I don't mean
so I
that
get the Stroud Award.
And I may have had some bad ones in my time for sure, but the eminent domain power, once you let this genie out of the bottle, the local governing body can't do much about it at all. They're self-perpetuating. They can tax.
But I think
the list
I think when you look at the sub, you'll see a lot of that has been taken out.
That's right. My headaches are going to go away, so I've got great confidence that we're setting up something that's more reasonable.
Yes.
And that once we let that genie out, it's not some uncontrollable monster that can tax and wheel and deal all around the state to the expense of the people, and we have no control over it. Other than impeachment, I thought that was remarkable. The only way to get rid of a board member, and for the people watching that camera in a big city to the north, impeachment was the only way you could get rid of a board member. It was flabbergasting, the breadth and depth of this bill. I commend you in your ingenuity on how to create such a huge genie that we could never control. Or should I say Frankenstein? I don't know.
Well, I've been accused of a lot of things, man, but what I was trying to do is to allow for continuation of economic development, build workforce. But I agree with you. There are some things that was out there that was a little bit broad. We brought them back in. If you read the sub that's out there now, you'll efficiency that have been brought in and harnessed in a lot. And so therefore, I'm still saying that there are some unintended consequences that are still out there, and that's why we're going to carry those, continue to work on it to make sure that we get rid of all those things that we're not intending to do.
Good job. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. President, with that, I would like to ask for this bill to be carried over.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Senate Bill 242
you,
is
sir.
carried over. All right, Secretary, call the next bill.
Page 21 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 149 by Senator Orr regarding prisoners. BR pending.
Mr. President,
Senator Orr.
I'd move adoption of the BR used in the previous roll.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 21 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 149 by Senator Orr regarding prisoners.
Mr. President, I have an amendment.
All right, Secretary, read and receive the amendment.
Amendment to Senate Bill 149 by Senator Orr. Replace lines 70 through 72 on page 3 with the following.
Mr. President, this amendment basically puts a schedule. This bill comes at the request of the sheriffs who have to feed the local prisoners. It came up in committee, how much do we pay for our state prisoners and the state facilities? Today, that cost is $2.81. I've shared this amendment with the general fund chairman, and he was agreeable to it. This time, I'd move adoption of the amendment using the previous roll.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The Senator Orr amendment's adopted. All right, Senator Orr.
Thank you, Mr. President. This time, I'd move third reading using the previous roll.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 149 passes. Thank you, Senator Orr. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 26 of the calendar, House Bill number 164 by Representative Robbins regarding consumer protection. BR pending.
Mr. President.
Senator Livingston.
Mr. President, I move the BIR using previous roll with no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 26 of the calendar, House Bill number 164 by Representative Robbins regarding consumer protection. Committee amendment pending.
All right, Senator Livingston.
Mr. President, I move we adopt the committee amendment using previous roll.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The committee amendment's adopted. All right.
Mr. President, this bill creates an online age verification requirement for accessing websites with adult content and provides penalties for a violation. A valid ID is required to be used for entry. A complaint could be filed and the judgment had been handed down by the court. Judgment would go to AG for further action on the producer, the distributor, or the material harm to a minor. This is an attempt to prohibit our children from having free access to pornography is what it is. And if there's no question from across the way, I move for a final passage using previous roll without objection.
Are there any objections? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you, Mr. President. Body members.
Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 27 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 220 by Senator Roberts and others regarding public contracts. BR pending.
Mr. President, I'd like to move BR using previous roll without objection on SB 220.
Any objections? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
What I told you.
34 ayes, no nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 27 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 220 by Senator Roberts and others regarding public contracts.
Senator Roberts.
Mr. President, I'd like to move, did we do the BR? Okay, I thought so. Thank you very much. What did this bill do? Senator Smitherman asked. It is intended to bring us in line with what our current homeland security measures are, in particular with the country of China. There are two lists that the federal government publishes, and if I can submit the sub, Senator, I'll walk you through what they are. So I'd like to submit the sub for the bill. As we originally passed out of committee, and I visited with members before, and I'd like to move passage.
Secretary Reed received the sub.
Substitute by Senator Roberts.
Mr. President, I'd like to move adoption of the sub using previous
Hold
rule.
before you adopt the sub. Let's talk about the sub.
What does this do? This addresses the procurement of equipment manufactured by certain companies that are published on two different lists by the federal government in keeping with Homeland Security. The first list referenced is here that I spoke about earlier. This is a list of equipment and services covered by Section 2 of the Securities Act. And it's supplemented by, this act was done in 2019 and is updated regularly, last updated September 2023. It lists when companies were added to the list, and they are currently banned by the FCC to be in equipment in any of the communication systems in America. And all of our equipment suppliers and all of our larger companies, AT&T, Verizon, all of these have worked with me on this, and I'm most grateful for that collaborative effort. And then the second one is Section 1260H of the Defense Procurement Act of 2021, and it also is updated. It lists identical, some are not, but these are companies that are considered to be a threat to the homeland, and all we are doing is ensuring that Alabama is acting in accordance with the federal guidelines for communications equipment that we would purchase through any of the funds that we have. That's the objective of what we're doing, and feel good about this. Any questions, sir?
Yes. Are you chairman of contract review?
I am, sir.
So in your chairship of contract review, how much of this are you seeing that avails you to bring this bill?
Well, we have departments that come in. This would be a lot of contracts that don't come before contract review would be affected. Some that do come through contract would be as well. So this is basically a call out to our state that for the benefit of Homeland Security, the equipment that goes in that we use daily throughout the state is in compliance with federal regulation.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. So does it make sure that it is not done by a third party? Does your bill make sure of that?
It does.
Because let's say, for instance, if I order XYZ radios for communications for 911.
Yes.
Okay, those radios are being sold to me. The bidding company becomes an American company, right? But then they turn around because they can buy it cheaper from someone in China. Does it affect that leg of the process by which they turn around and then turn and sell to me? Because it may not always be the American. I'm getting a legitimate bid from an American company.
I agree completely. It does. It's the equipment manufactured by these companies that are listed here, and all of our current providers are fully aware of these federal lists, and they are abiding by it. So it's really nothing new along those lines. It's just putting this now in statute in Alabama that we too are following in the benefit of our Homeland Security moves against someone that is currently not one of our best friends for the nation to bring Alabama in compliance with.
Does Amazon still buy from China, or do they abide by that list?
China is not responsible. I don't anticipate that China and Amazon have any non-buy stuff, but my guess the demand for public use of this equipment is going to be very limited by these lists, by the actions of the Fed and by DOD.
Okay, I just want to make sure that
we're... and DOD, everyone's aware of these lists, and they are readily available.
Yeah, I remember in the last China bill that we had here, I had to try to defend the Chinese citizens who were here in this state and in this country, who some were born and raised here by unintended consequences was going to get tangled in that web. We were about to run away doctors. We were about to run away teachers, people who come in and do research just because they may have had some connections or had ancestors back in China and still go back and forth to visit China, but yet and still some of them were American-born citizens or yet and still had citizenship even though they were born in China. I just don't want to make sure a bill like this does not go that far again to affect Chinese citizens with the intent of trying to stop the purchasing of products.
This does not touch that one bit. It does not impact. I had entire labs that would have been affected by this in my district, and many of them live in my district, and we welcome them to the United States. It has nothing to do with the procurement of land or where someone may do an activity. It has nothing against that. It simply deals with the procurement process of communication equipment for which state dollars flow through, and it goes down to third-party vendors as well. It's an effort to do the right thing for Alabama, but not going after any of the individuals.
Okay. Well, I trust that it is, because this bill I have not thoroughly read, especially haven't read the sub.
Absolutely.
I'm going on what you're telling me that's in your sub without having read the sub. So as long as it's not touching that, and I'm okay as long as it has reference to
It reference these two
the
federal
FCC list
It
and the
does.
Homeland Security list.
Yes, sir.
Then I'm okay with that.
Yes, sir. That's
All right.
it. So in no way does it impact anything else.
No problem.
Yes, sir.
You can
Thank
move.
you.
You
Mr.
can motion to
President-
adopt.
Using previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. Senator Roberts substitutes adopted. All right.
You got to pass your bill, man.
My good colleague yet again.
You're
has
leaving
my
yourself
back.
wide open. You're leaving it wide open for me to add some on your bill now.
Mr. President, I'd like to move final passage of SB 220 using previous role without objection as substituted.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 220 passes. Thank you, Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 23 of the calendar, House Bill number 138 by Representative Reynolds regarding supplemental appropriations. BR pending.
Senator Albritton.
Mr. President, thank you for the recognition. Move for passage of the BIR using previous role without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 22 of the calendar, House Bill number 138 by Representative Reynolds regarding appropriations.
Mr. President.
Senator Albritton.
Mr. President, HB 138 is the House version of a Senate bill that we've already passed today. This bill came from the Finance Director office earlier. This is an appropriation of federal funds from ARPA monies for the State Small Business Credit Initiative Fund to be used in grants programs and such. And I think I have my colleague has some questions, I think.
Mr. President.
Senator Orr.
Thank you. So the State Small Business Credit Initiative Fund is part of ARPA?
I think that is the state version of handling the ARPA monies. I believe that's how it's going.
And we're talking about $98 million?
I think our figure was 97.
97.9.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Gotcha.
I was close.
I had some questions, and I've got a member of the Innovation Commission. If you'd let him answer, I'm just curious how things are going there. I hadn't gotten.
Sure, I don't mind that. If
I would be very interested to know where we're about to give them $100 million. What,
if that's all right with
what our board member is going to do?
All right.
Yes. Mr. Is this an SB? It will be acronym the SB.
We passed the SB. This is the HB.
No, I was just saying the acronym SBCII, whatever the acronyms would be for that money.
Oh, the Small Business Initiative Fund. Credit Initiative Fund.
Yes.
CIF.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that money has gone to small business innovations who have started innovations in rural communities and urban communities. I know there are groups in Birmingham has gotten some of the money, Huntsville. I think we had a pot of about $25 million to start with. When we first started, we got all of that out and probably had another 120 applicants who were lined up to get more of these dollars. We're finding new and upstart businesses that are out there. I know they gave some to universities, some to, I know to some of the community, one of the community colleges got some to be able to start a program on looking at electric cars and doing maintenance, because no one in the state was really doing maintenance on electric cars. And so they're taking these dollars and being able to put into these small businesses so they could be able to launch their small business out. So it's been very, very creative. We've been seeing a lot of women-owned business, minority-owned business, majority-owned businesses come, and the money is being used in a very positive way.
So you're playing Santa Claus.
Well, I think that what we're doing is trying to make sure that we continue innovation in this state as we see it. Whether or not you call it Santa Claus or not, I think they're going to worthwhile projects that are doing great things out there. Otherwise, they would not be getting these kind of funding. This is going to help jumpstart. Who knows? It may be the next Microsoft that starts here in Alabama if we don't jumpstart some of these businesses. So I'm very supportive of the business. I don't sit on that committee that grades the applicants. I don't sit on that committee, but I do vote on them when they do come through. Yes, and we get a thorough explanation of what these businesses are doing, and then they come before us and explain their projects.
How long has it been in existence now? 2 years, 3 years?
I think we're going, what, 3 years Innovation Commission? 4 years?
And it takes a year or so to get ramped up.
Right.
3 years.
We had the commission 1 year, so it's almost a 5-year process from the time we started the commission, then we went into the corporation, and right, it's almost a 5-year process.
So would you got any idea how much we've invested or the state has put into it, roughly? My rough math says a couple $100 million maybe by now.
I don't know if it's that much yet.
Well, 25, 50 a year. 97 here.
It ain't been 7 years yet, Arthur. No, it may be 150 million here or there. But it's been going, money's being well spent. We've been seeing some great projects that have been going up.
Do you know how many jobs have been? I wouldn't expect
I have not looked at the job creation of it. Yeah,
is that a part of your report, though? Do you get that information?
Will be. Yes, there's an annual report that comes out. You can get a copy of the report that's out there. It looks at the number of jobs, of what we're geographically, we are, from Mobile to Huntsville, Birmingham, and we've even started reaching out in rural areas of the Black Belt in East Alabama now. So there's a rural component.
What's the largest grant? Do you know? Is there a cap on it, like 500,000, a million, or do you know if there's a?
The largest one that I'm seeing coming through about 250,000. I think you may get some a little bit more than that, 750,000 on some of these grants, but I have not seen anything of no 5 million or above or anything of that nature. It's really that.
So we're in the venture capital business.
Well, I mean, no more than what we were about to do.
I'll call it public equity then, not private equity, but public.
It's not, it's about trying to help start businesses and innovation in this state. I think it's a great thing to do. It's no different than when we, we were finna get $30 million to a school to save it. I guess we were finna be in that business also. Mm-hmm. I would rather do what we're doing here, because we're seeing what we can see that the ROI here, you're going to be able to see it. I think you'll see the return of investment in terms of these businesses as they're growing. And we're not just giving it to anyone who come up with a business plan and say, hey, I want this money willy-nilly. They're being vetted. They're being vetted very well. We have, third-party veterans that are coming in and looking at it. We have our board members who are looking at these businesses, and we're basically kind of holding their hands and walking through this process with them and making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do by these dollars. And right so far, we have not had anyone to fail in or to come back and feel like we had some malfeasance or anything with any of the money yet.
One last question. Do you know, based on the number of applicants, what you're able to do? In other words, if you get 100 applicants, usually you pick 20 or 30 or 40 or 50. Do you know kind of what the percentage of successful applicants is?
I don't, because I don't serve on that committee. I have not looked at it very, very close as they do it on that committee. But I do trust the people who are on that committee. They're very successful businessmen and women here in the state of Alabama that has been put on the board by the governor. And I think they do a great job at trying to make sure that we get the money out in the right hands who are going to be responsible and effective with those dollars.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. President.
All right, Senator Albritton.
Thank you, Mr. President. If there's no further argument or discussion, I'd move for final passage using previous rule without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 138 passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Albritton. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 47 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 240 by Senator Barfoot regarding the Department of Mental Health. BIR pending.
Mr. President, move for adoption of the BIR using previous rule.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 47 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 240 by Senator Barfoot regarding the Department of Mental Health. Committee amendment pending.
Mr. President, as regarding the committee amendment, I'd have a motion to table using previous rule.
Motion to table?
Yes, sir.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to table passes.
Thank you, Mr. President. With that, I do have an amendment to offer, and I'll be glad to explain the amendment.
All right, Secretary Reed, receive the amendment, please.
Amendment to Senate Bill 240 by Senator Barfoot. Replace lines 411 through 417 on page 15 with the following.
All right, Senator Barfoot.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, the amendment is the same amendment we just tabled, with the exception that there is an addition on there. Going over this with a couple of members, the court shall give the prosecuting attorney an opportunity to object to the discharge order. So if no questions on the amendment, I'd move for adoption using previous rule.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, no nays.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The Senator Barfoot amendment's adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're now on final passage.
We are.
Mr. President, I'd move for final passage of SB 240 as amended using previous rule.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, no nays.
34 ayes, 0 nays. Let's see, Senate Bill 240 passes. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 58 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 256 by Senators Smitherman and Singleton regarding the newborn screening panel. BR pending.
Mr. President, move for BR, use the previous rule without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes and no nays.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 58 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 256 by Senators Smitherman and Singleton relating to newborn screening.
Mr. President.
Senator Smitherman. I've been waiting for you to come to the mic all day. You're the best dressed senator in this building today. Like that new suit. Looking good.
Well, thank y'all.
Yeah, look at
Thank
you.
y'all. Thank y'all very much.
Man.
Thank
yeah.
you. I
didn't want to say anything earlier because I thought you might come on up and start filibustering.
No.
So I waited till you came up.
It's just the opposite. I told someone, I said, I don't hardly know what to do with myself because I'm just kind of in here and I'm just moving with y'all. I'm riding on y'all train today, so I just want y'all to know that. Now, I want you to, whatever it is that you want to say, I want you to say it to me and share it with me, but I want to share something with you. So if it's something you want to save, you can do that or not. I'm talking to the body. I'm going to request that the bill be carried over, and let me just tell you why I'm doing that. Number one, then I'm going to yield to you. I'm not requesting, I'm just kind of telling them. It's because, number one, I really want to pass the House bill for the pharmacist, what his name, Representative Rigsby. Yeah, I really want to pass for him. This issue is a very issue that I want to tell everybody in here that I am working massively with. Not so much with him, but this issue. But I'm not ready to present it to you all, the sort of a comprehensive approach to this issue dealing with mortality and the deaths that we have. So I agreed to get involved to help with this particular bill because this does fit into the overall scheme of things that I'm going to present to y'all. And it won't be this session. We just don't have enough time. It's probably going to be next session. But I wanted to say that to everyone that I'm committed to passing the House bill, and so I'm going to request the Rules Chair if he would Thursday, if he'll put my bill and hers on there, his on there, and then I'm going to move to pass his bill. The senator sitting over there that's so graciously sitting behind, we try not to call names on the mic. He has a very good, friendly amendment that he shared with me regarding that bill. So Senator, I just had to give you all the information. Then I'll if okay, Mr. President, I'll yield to him for whatever purposes that he has.
All right, Senator Stutz.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you're carrying this over today, we can discuss it later. I just didn't want it to get on the fast track without talking about it.
Okay.
If you're carrying it over, I don't have anything else to discuss with you right now.
All right, and when we come back Thursday, I'll graciously yield to you to give you a chance and share dialogue if you feel necessary as we try to get that bill out of here.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So at this time, I just move if it's in order to carry the bill over.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, Senate Bill 256 is carried over. Thanks, Senator Smitherman.
Thank you, and thank you, members.
All right, Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 27 of the calendar, House Bill number 253 by Representative Brown regarding the State Port Authority. BR pending.
Senator Figures.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move to adopt the BIR for HB 253 using previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 27 of the calendar, House Bill number 253 by Representative Brown regarding the State Port Authority.
Mr. President, I call for final passage of HB 253 using previous role without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 253 passes.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, members of the Senate.
Thank you, Senator Figures. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 17 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 186 by Senator Orr relating to ranked choice voting. BR pending.
Senator Orr.
Mr. President, move adoption of BIR using previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, no nays.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 17 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 186 by Senator Orr regarding ranked choice voting.
Mr. President, I have an amendment.
All right, Secretary, read and receive the amendment.
Amendment to Senate Bill 186 by Senator Orr. Replace lines 5 through 8 on page 1 with the following. Under existing law, electors who vote by.
So, thank you, Mr. President. This just amends the synopsis. The synopsis says we have ranked choice voting in the state. We don't. I've talked to the Secretary of State. He's very adamant. The amendment actually comes from the Secretary of State's office. He wrote me a letter saying we don't have ranked choice voting in the state. What we do have is if there are 5 positions opened and for, say, a 5-county commissioner somewhere, and you vote, and the top 5 vote getters are your new county commission. In other words, you got 10 candidates, the top 5 vote getters of the 10 candidates would be elected as county commissioners. That's not ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting is when I vote for candidate A as my first place pick, I vote for candidate B as my second place pick, candidate C my third place, and then they take the number value of a third place is not as good as a first place. They add it all up, and then you get the final runoff candidates out of that based on your numerical value that voters give you. Terribly confusing. A lot of voters waste their vote because they don't understand it. They'll vote for their favorite candidate and not vote second, third, fourth, or fifth, and they waste all those lower priority votes. So the Secretary of State's office is very much for this bill to not have it. And what's interesting is you find that ranked choice voting is somewhat a bipartisan issue. I've got articles up here where the NAACP is complaining about it, the Republicans are complaining about it, that people complain about it. So that's the reason I think it's a wise thing for us to do here in the state. I'd move adoption of the amendment using the previous role, Mr. President.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The Senate order amendment's adopted.
This time, Mr. President, I move third reading using the previous role.
All right, Senator Roberts, did you want to? Okay. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 186 passes. Thank you, Senator Orr. Secretary called next bill on the calendar.
On page 36 of the calendar, Senate Bill 128 by Senator Melson regarding the Public Health Department, State Board of Health. The hour pending.
Mr. President.
Senator Melson.
I'd like to move the BR using previous row.
All right. Any objection? All right. Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. The Secretary call the bill.
On page 36 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 128 by Senator Melson relating to the Public Health Department, State Board of Health.
Mr. President.
Senator Melson.
I'd like to offer a substitute.
All right, Secretary Reed, receive the substitute, please.
That's when. Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. I had the right one, just handed you the wrong one. Same thing?
Substitute for Senate Bill 128 by Senator Melson.
All right. Any objection? All right. Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton, Mr. Williams.
I think it's
34 ayes, 0 nays. The Senator Melson substitute's adopted. All right, Senator Melson.
Mr. President, under existing law, the Medical Association of the State of Alabama is the State Board of Health. They only meet one time a year, and what this bill does is just abolish the State Board of Health, and instead their duties will be carried over to the State Committee of Public Health, which will be, and from then on, be the one that carries out the duties. Right now, the way there will be, the state health officer will be appointed. We're changing that up. What we're going to do is have a physician from each of the congressional districts, and then also there'll be a designee from the governor, lieutenant governor, the Speaker of the House, and the pro tem's office. So those would be the appointing for the other 4 seats. And then the others will pretty much stay the same, where we have the council of different councils of the state appointing a member, and then which will be a variety of things such as a dentist, a engineer, which would deal in public health issues such as sewer issues and things like that. Then there'll be also like a cost-effective analysis. That group would appoint somebody. And then there's one more, and I think that, do you remember which one that was, Senator Stutz? We talked about that. The dental health, animal environmental health, preventive disease and medicine group, and then cost administration and organizations. They would also appoint one. These individuals would appoint one, or they would send over a list of names to the governor, and the governor then would pick from that list, and we would have them in charge of appointing the health officer. I know there was a lot of concerns during COVID and other things about the public health officer and his the function of his duties, and there was not a feeling of accountability. Actually, he didn't make any decisions without going by the COVID-19 task force. But however, in case there is some other action where the public health officer, they feel like there is inappropriate action or questionable action, then the governor, lieutenant governor, pro tem of the speaker can send over an inquiry, and that inquiry would determine, would cause the public health, the Committee of Public Health to meet and determine if his actions were appropriate or inappropriate. So what I tried to do was just get like a peer review of the state health officer, just like you would for a physician that worked at a hospital or any other organization. And then they would report back saying if his actions were appropriate or inappropriate at that time. And based on their recommendation, he could be punished, removed, or whatever, or could just actually concur with his decision and state that it was appropriate. And that's pretty much it. I'll be glad to entertain my colleague for any questions. I think he has a friendly amendment.
Mr. President?
Senator Stutz.
I have an amendment actually that makes changes in 4 different places, but I've considered it as one amendment.
All right, Secretary Reed, receive the amendment, please.
Amendment to Senate Bill 128 by Senator Stutz. Replace lines 126 through 131 on page 5 with the following. Replace line 182 on page 7 with the following. Replace lines 192 through 196 on page 7 with the following. Replace line 243 on page 9 with the following.
Senator, I think you're looking at those amendments as well, and I know you and I talked about at the first one at length of what the makeup should be and putting some guidelines of who they should appoint. And I think somebody in family medicine and then somebody that practices obstetrics and gynecology with the issues we have with maternal health and sexually transmitted diseases, I think that would be a good addition to the, as a member of the committee. But then the other thing, the next amendment is simply correcting the numbers where a line was changed, because the following section, which was section 2, the amendment is completely deleting that about the $5,000 bond. I think that's outdated. There's no reason for that. I mean, and if we have to have a bond, it certainly needs to be more than $5,000 if you're looking at not performing the duties of this office. And then the last amendment, I thought the word simply didn't make sense there. It said emergency rule, order, outbreak, or directive, and I thought the word outbreak just didn't make any sense at all in that sentence, so deleting that.
I would agree. I'm still looking at the second one on line 182.
The second amendment, that's simply correcting the orders, because, I mean, the numbers, because section 2 under that is completely deleted by the amendment about the bond, so that had to move the numbers up one.
I got you.
So that's just a typographical correction because section 2 was deleted.
All right.
right, thank you. I'd like.
And so I'd like to offer those amendments using the previous roll.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Straw Britton, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Senator Stutz.
All right, 34 ayes, 0 nays. The Senator Stutz amendment's adopted. Before we move on, I want to recognize some special guests in the gallery. When I call your name, if y'all could please stand. They're the guests of Senator Livingston, Philip, and Kathy Thompson. If y'all could please stand. Welcome to Alabama Senate. All right, Senator Melton.
Does my colleague have anything else?
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you to a lot of people, you particularly, but I know Senator Gavan, Senator Weaver, several people have worked extensively on this, and it's an issue that several of us have been looking at for several years now, and I'm glad to see something moving in this direction. So thank you, members of the body.
Yeah, I agree. I appreciate Senator Weaver, I think, wants to speak, and also Senator Gaban from their great input.
Thanks, Senator Stutz. Senator Weaver.
Senator Melson, I just want to echo that. And you and Senator Gavan have worked so hard on this, and I appreciate you letting me be a part of the conversation. I know a lot of people have been working on this, and I think it's been said that when everybody doesn't get what they want, we have a good piece of legislation. And thank you for your work. I think you do have a good piece of legislation.
Well, thank you very much. And again, Senator Gavan sitting down, but he had a lot to do with this, and I appreciate your input and working with us to find a solution. So anyway, with that, I'd like to move for final passage using previous roll.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Straw Britton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 128 passes. Thanks, Senator Melson.
Thank you.
Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 35 of the calendar, House Bill number 69 by Representative McCampbell regarding the Controlled Substance Prescription Database. BR pending.
President,
Senator Singleton.
move for BR use of previous roll without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 35 of the calendar, House Bill number 69 by Representative McCampbell regarding the Controlled Substance Database.
Mr. President, I think that this is a bill that's been worked out between the dental board, Representative McCampbell's and others. This bill, under current state law, physicians may designate 2 delegates to the Office of Employee to assess the Alabama Prescription Drug Monitoring Database to determine information to ensure the propriety of prescribing drugs for individual patients. The bill will extend the authority to designate 2 delegates to dentists just like any other physician. I think this is an agreed upon bill, and with that, Mr. President, I would like to move for final passage use of previous roll without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Straw Britton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 69 passes. Thanks, Senator Singleton. Secretary, call next bill.
On page 54 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 225 by Senator Gudger and Weaver regarding state symbols. BR pending.
Senator Gudger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion to move the BR.
Would you like to use previous roll?
Using previous roll without objection.
All right, any objection? All right, hearing none, so ordered.
Straw Britton, Mr. Williams.
Killing me.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 54 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 225 by Senators Gudger and Weaver regarding state symbols.
All right, Senator Gudger.
This is one of the greatest bills that we've put through here this year so far, talking about our state symbols. The native state grass, the little blue stem. It's found in North Alabama all the way down to the plains and to the wiregrass and all the way towards the beach. It fosters healthier Alabama ecosystems, combats Alabama's challenges regarding drought conditions and soil erosion, offers animal shelter, even food sources, aesthetic benefits. And we've been working on this with the College Republican Federation of Alabama that asked me to carry this bill for them to show the process. So
Having said that, I will yield and let my colleague talk across the way.
Also, you left out great quail habitat.
Thank you very much.
All right, Senator Singleton.
Yeah, Mr. President, so you're trying to make this grass the state grass?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
What make it better than all the other grass? It's just God-given grass.
There's been
Somebody
studies-
gonna cut it?
That's been good. Studies, the aesthetics of it, flowers and blooms, fruits and seeds, ecological benefits, maintenance is low.
Can you smoke it?
No. That's a different type of grass.
What does it look like?
It's tall. It's about 2 to 4 feet tall, and it spreads out about 1.5 to 2 feet in width.
Can you eat it?
Can't eat it. Well, I'll say that. Well, they're seeds, so you're not really able to eat it, but the animals can because it produces seeds.
I'm sure animals eat all grass.
That's it, part of it. Anything from butterflies, I'll tell you what.
You know what really bothers me about this? I mean, I understand that the people here on my back shoulders from the wiregrass area, I know it's grown in their area. They think that's God country down there, right?
They do.
But I know the black belt is really God's country. Y'all just overlook us because y'all think that we so poor, don't nobody want nothing come out the black belt.
This
but
is
that's
the
where
black belt. This
that's
is
where
the
the really
black
good
belt.
grass grown in the black belt. But let me just say this to you: we've had some embarrassments on this state naming state stuff. Somebody named the state whiskey one time, and we got embarrassed by it. We had something else named the state bee or something. We got embarrassed by it because we get embarrassed by naming all this stuff the state whatever, and it come back to bite us.
The little blue
in the
stem,
back.
I don't think that's going to come back to bite us. Little blue stem's a good one. That's a good one right
We
there.
always look bad.
No, we're going to look good.
What was the name of that whiskey? Connecticut Ridge or something like that? That boot ball? Yes.
What was it?
Yeah, it was nothing but straight Joe Louis whiskey, made out the steels. Straight moonshine. Exactly was. You know, it turned around and it wasn't even legal. It hit us in the face. I think it's good now. I think they develop it now, but it hit us back in the face. You know, every time we try to name something after that, it's an official state symbol.
Yeah.
How many state symbols do we have? We got a state bird, we got a state flag, we got state grass now, we're gonna have state biscuit,
vegetable,
we're gonna have state
vegetable.
bee, we're gonna have the state worm, we got the state, what else?
Grass, I believe.
Honeybees, I know we have the state honeybee.
I'm all in on that, by the way.
I remember the state honeybees, man.
Honeybees.
Yeah.
They don't go to bluegrass, but they'll go to wiregrass.
Yeah.
Don't get him started about that.
Cookie and cake.
The sweet potato was a state vegetable?
We did.
And you back up here again. So you the state guy now. You the
I must be.
state symbol guy. You
good one.
Mr. Alabama. We'll name you Mr. Alabama. All Alabama is Gurja.
Good.
He just go all over the state naming stuff, the state, whatever it is.
A lot of research has been put into this to make sure it's the right one for us.
There's sawgrass. How did it get to be better than anything else?
The studies that they've put together, man, they said this is the native grass, and there's not many native
Exactly.
grass.
Now, you know, Mr. Pro Tem came up here and asked us today not to just try to hold things up, but let's try to get through this calendar. Here it is on some grass that's finna cause me to start my first hour.
Oh, don't be doing that. We can celebrate this. We can celebrate this together.
What we celebrating?
Yeah. The official state grass.
Wiregrass.
Listen, if you kill this bill, we're going to have to call you Roundup. That's what we're going to have to call you from now on.
Well, you might have to do that. You might have to do that. You might have to do that. I just hope that, you know, I don't have to round you up on the rest of this calendar. So you've had, to whom you're doing this bill for again?
The College Republican Federation of Alabama. So college students had been through the ecosystems and found the best Alabama grass, and they wanted to go through the legislative process.
Are these students that's studying botany or something?
All over for the ecosystems, yeah. So they're going, looked at all the different ones, came out with little blue stem. They got a report they had sent to us. I don't know if you want me to really read
So the
whole
blue
thing.
stem has what is supposed to have more more usage for the blue stem than just cutting it?
Widely used all the way through the state. That flowers has a purple.
Can we market it?
flower.
Can we sell it? Can we get a return on investment here in the state? Can we use it as a product?
It's aesthetics, and so you can put it in landscaping so that it is sellable. So you're able to.
So it's sellable.
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 You're
It's
able to
sellable.
sell.
I thought it was like a seal of brain for
nah.
erosion or something. What about kudzu? It goes all over everywhere, man. What about kudzu? Why don't we have the state weed kudzu?
I'll come back with that next week.
You have that one next week? Man. All right. I guess I'll let you have your grass here today, man.
You're a good man. Having said that, I'll make final passage using previous roll without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
$33 ayes, 1 nay. Senate Bill 225 passes. Congratulations, Senator Gutcher.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 35 of the calendar, House Bill number 70 by Representative McCampbell regarding the Board of Dental Examiners of Alabama. They are pending.
Mr. President.
Senator Singleton.
Move for the BR use to approve the roll without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
All right, 34 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
Page 35 of the calendar, House Bill number 70 by Representative McCampbell regarding the Board of Dental Examiners.
Senator Singleton.
Mr. President, Representative McCampbell approached the Board of Dental Examiners to help with the situation in his district where large employers wanted to have a health fair for its employees. One of the issues was that the dentist from Mississippi was prepared to provide free dental care, but did not have an Alabama license. Representative McCampbell asked for the creation of a special volunteer license for dentists and hygienists license in good standing in another state to be able to work over in Alabama. So these special licenses are valid for 15 to 30 days, period, for twice a year. This bill is the product of the work of Representative McCampbell in the Board of Dental Examiners. All dental records created from the special license must be kept in Alabama with the Alabama licensed dentist. The bill creates a nominal fee for special licensees. The bill anticipates charging $20 to $25 for the fee. Right in Sumter County, on that area where there's not a lot of pediatric dentists or dentists in that area, they use Mississippi. They go across the border to use Mississippi for their doctor office. So what they did was want to come in and be able to do a health fair for the employer in that area and their children. And so with that, because they weren't Alabama licensed, they weren't able to come over and do it. So what this bill is create that special license for them to just be able to do it for, it will only last 15 to 30 days while they do the health fair, and all of the records will be kept with a licensed Alabama dentist in the state of Alabama for further treatment for those kids or those patients.
Mr. President.
Senator Stutz.
Senator, I don't have a copy of the bill right here, so I apologize for jumping up without being completely prepared about it. But I'm trying to remember from committee, does this bill also increase the licensing fee?
No, what it does is charge a minimum licensing fee of $25 to $30 for them to come over and do it for that day.
Okay, no other impact on licensing?
No, it doesn't. No, just for that special license.
Yeah, okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other question, Mr. President, with that, I would move for third reading be dispensed with use of the roll without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, no nays.
34 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 70 passes. Senator Singleton, that's the fastest I've heard anyone do that since I've been Lieutenant Governor. All right, Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 28 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 234 by Senator Gavan and others regarding public contracts. BR pending.
Senator Gavan.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I would move the BIR using previous role without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Straw written. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 28 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 234 by Senator Gavan and others regarding public contracts.
Senator Gavan.
Mr. President, what this bill does is it allows the counties in the state of Alabama to have a public building authority on the same standard that a municipality already can. With that this bill piqued the interest of the League of Municipalities. There's also another provision that's referenced in this, and the League wanted it clear on an amendment that their purchases dealing with their purchases between a municipality and a governmental entity, so I do have an amendment.
All right, Secretary, read and receive the amendment.
Amendment to Senate Bill 234 by Senator Gavan. Replace line 148 on page 6 with the following.
Senator Gavan.
At this time, I would, if there are no questions, I'd move adoption of the amendment using previous role without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Straw written. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The Senator Gavan amendment's adopted. Senator Gavan.
Does the senator from Hale have any questions about this? So if there are no particular questions, I would move final passage using
34 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 234 passes amended. Thanks, Senator Gavan.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 52 of the calendar, Senate Bill 275 by Senator Melson and Sessions regarding to agriculture authorities. BR pending.
Senator Melson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move the BR using previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Straw written. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The EBR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 52 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 275 by Senators Melson and Sessions regarding agriculture authorities.
Mr. President, I'd like to offer a substitute.
All right, Secretary, read and receive the substitute, please.
Substitute for Senate Bill 275 by Senator Melson.
I'd like to move to pass the substitute using previous row.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Straw written. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The Senator Melson substitute's adopted. All right, Senator Melson.
Thank you, Mr. President. All this did was had a little house cleaning. We got an AG's opinion on where the revenue could be spent, and all this did was clean that up, and I'd like to move for final passage unless somebody has a question using previous row.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Straw written. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr.
34 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 275 passes. Thanks, Senator Melson. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 45 of the calendar, House Bill number 275 by Representative Almond regarding indigent defense. BR pending.
Mr. President, ask for unanimous consent, use previous role for the passage of the BIR.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Straw written. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 45 of the calendar, House Bill number 275 by Representative Almond regarding indigent defense.
Mr. President.
Senator Smithman.
Thank you. This bill is it's designed to increase the indigent defense compensation. Right now, the compensation, which it has not been addressed for, I had the number of years down here, but it's at $70 an hour. And what it does, it raises it up to $120 an hour for an adjustment. And let me just say this to everybody in here. Anybody in here who is a lawyer, you're not going to get them to work for you for $120 an hour. I promise you that. So these people, this is just barely covering their expenses and then trying to keep up with times from the last, well, I know about 10 or 12 years since this has been adjusted. So this is what it is for in the defense fund. And of course, I have some sheets as well you can look at, and it just talks about, it caps it off at Class A felonies and Class B felonies and C's and D's. It also has a cap on it. And the amount for Class A is reduced to $100 an hour, and the 120 is for capital murder, and the Class B is reduced to $80 an hour. So you're talking about $80 an hour, which is really not much money. But anybody have any questions? If you don't, then, Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent, use previous role for final passage.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 275 passes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members.
Thanks, Senator Smoothman. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 63 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 251 by Senator Jones regarding public investments. BR pending.
Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move adoption of the BR using previous role without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, no nays. 34 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 63 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 251 by Senator Jones regarding public investments.
Mr. President,
Senator Jones.
This bill has to do with investments in prohibited Chinese entities and those that are on a blacklist. If there are no questions about it, I move for final passage using previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 251 passes. Thanks, Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 62 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 208 by Senator Kelly regarding the social work examiners. BR pending.
Mr. President, move for adoption of BR by previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 62 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 208 by Senator Kelly regarding social work examiners.
Mr. President.
Senator Kelly.
This bill's an interstate compact bill that's military friendly. It helps us to adjust the licenses from one state to another for our military personnel. Without objection, I move for adoption by previous role.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes. 34 ayes, no nays. SB 208 receives its final passage. Thank you, Senator
Mr.
Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Secretary, call the next bill in the special order calendar.
On page 22 of the calendar, House Bill number 101 by Representative Clark regarding elections. BR pending.
Senator Chastain.
Mr. President,
You're recognized.
I'd like to use the previous role to adopt the BIR without objections.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, no nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 22 of the calendar, House Bill number 101 by Representative Clark relating to elections.
Senator Chastain.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill would update Alabama's list of reimbursement eligible election expenses to better reflect today's cost of administering elections at the local level. If there are no questions, I move for final passage using the previous role without objections.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, no nays.
34 ayes, no nays. HB 101 receives its final passage. Thank you, Senator Chastain.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Secretary, call the next bill in the special order calendar.
On page 29 of the calendar, Senate Bill 233 by Senator Coleman Madison regarding mortgages. BR pending.
Senator Coleman Madison.
I'd like to move BR using previous role.
Any objection? Hearing, got an objection? Secretary, call the long roll.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Allen. Mr. Barfoot. Mr. Beasley. Mr. Bell. Mr. Butler. Mr. Carnley. Mr. Chambliss. Mr. Chastain. Ms. Coleman. Ms. Coleman Madison. Mr. Elliott. Ms. Figures. Mr. Gavan. Mr. Gudger. Mr. Hatcher. Mr. Hovey. Mr. Jones. Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kitchens. Mr. Livingston. Mr. Melson. Mr. Orr. Mr. Price. Mr. Reed. Mr. Roberts. Mr. Sessions. Mr. Shelnut. Mr. Singleton. Mr. Smithman. Mr. Stewart. Mr. Stutz. Mr. Wagner. Ms. Weaver. Mr. Williams.
Twelve ayes, 12 nays, 2 abstentions. The BR fails.
Point of personal privilege, please.
You're recognized for a point of personal privilege.
Well, we were rocking and rolling, really good going on, everybody's bill passing. Vote for some of the things that I did not agree with, just kind of let it go. And I appreciate you all voting your conscience. But just for the record, let me just explain what this bill was about. Not that you all don't know it, because I know who my opposition was against this bill, but the point is that they have not done anything to move the needle forward to help people. This is a bill about funding the Housing Trust Fund, which the state of Alabama already has established. And the Housing Trust Fund would put money in a fund to help people who want to get in homes. I know that this is one of the governor's initiatives as far as housing, workforce housing. This too is a workforce housing initiative. And inasmuch as we've already established this fund, but we never funded it, what this bill would have done was to add, right now, if you purchase property and you file in the probate, it is 15 cents per $100. This adds another 15 cents to it to make it 30 cents, so that that money would be used for a statewide distribution to help people all over the state. Now, not too long ago, we had a tornado that went from one end of the state to the other. And I'm a licensed realtor as well. And I certainly felt that this bill would help people, because one of the things, the obstacles that I had as a licensed realtor in helping people to get in the home was the fact that down payment assistance, just coming up with that. I know first-time homeowner myself, when I purchased first house, $500 I had to borrow. That was a gap financing. And so this is paid by the person who purchases the home, because they are the one that's paying that extra money. So this would have helped a lot of people. And it's sad, of course, you all voted your own conscience, but it's sad that there are forces that are out there that are work against the people of Alabama. And this is not a vote against Senator Coleman Madison. This is a vote against the people of Alabama and your constituency. So I hope that those of you who voted against it, I hope that those who worked on the outside against it, that you step up to the plate now to help us fill this gap, to help citizens and help Alabama families. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Senator Coleman Madison.
Mr. President.
Senator Elliott.
over to personal privilege.
You're recognized.
I wanted to address the gentlelady from Jefferson because my name's on her bill as well, and it reads Coleman, Madison, Smitherman, and Elliott. And I wanted to simply say I appreciate where she is coming from as it relates to affordable housing and specifically workforce housing, something that we are going to work through in this chamber. And so I appreciate the work that you are doing. This bill moved through our committee that we both serve on, but there were concerns, obviously, about the increased cost of it, and I think you saw the results of those concerns today, but I do appreciate your work on this issue, and I will continue to work with you on this issue as I was working with you on this one, and I appreciate your efforts. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Elliott. Secretary, call the next bill on the special order calendar.
On page 36 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 37 by Senator Allen regarding the Alabama Clean Indoor Air Act. BIR pending.
Senator Allen.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I move the adoption of the BIR using previous roll.
Need to use a long roll.
Long roll.
Secretary,
Yes,
call the
please.
long roll.
Long roll. Thank you.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Allen.
Aye.
Mr. Barfoot. Mr. Beasley. Mr. Bell. Mr. Butler. Mr. Carnley. Mr. Chambliss. Mr. Chasteen. Ms. Coleman. Ms. Coleman Madison. Mr. Elliott. Ms. Figures. Mr. Gavan. Mr. Gudger. Mr. Hatcher. Mr. Hovey. Mr. Jones. Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kitchens. Mr. Livingston. Mr. Melson. Mr. Orr. Mr. Price. Mr. Reed. Mr. Roberts. Mr. Sessions. Mr. Shellnut. Mr. Singleton. Mr. Smitherman. Mr. Stewart. Mr. Stutz. Mr. Wagner. Ms. Weaver. Mr. Williams.
(26 ayes, 4 nays). BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 36 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 37 by Senator Allen regarding the Alabama Clean Indoor Air Act.
Mr. President.
Senator Allen.
Yes, sir. Under the existing law, the Alabama Clean Indoor Air Act prohibits the smoking of tobacco products in most public places and at public meetings. This piece of legislation would prohibit the smoking of electronic nicotine delivery system in the same manner as the smoking of tobacco products is prohibited. So, any questions? Otherwise, we'll move the adoption of using a previous roll.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
26 ayes, 4 nays. SB 37 receives its final passage. Thank you,
Mr.
Senator Allen. Secretary, call the next bill on the special order calendar.
On page 33 of the calendar, House Bill number 87 by Representative Brown regarding airport authorities. BR pending.
Mr. President.
Senator Figures, you recognize.
Yes, I seem to be handling the bills for the ports today in Mobile. So I move for the adoption of the BIR using previous roll.
Any objection? Hearing none. Oh, got an objection? Call the long roll.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Allen. Mr. Barfoot. Mr. Beasley. Mr. Bell. Mr. Butler. Y'all check Butler. Mr. Carnley. Mr. Chambliss. Mr. Chasteen. Ms. Coleman. Ms. Coleman Madison. Mr. Elliott. Ms. Figures. Mr. Gavan. Mr. Gudger. Mr. Hatcher. Mr. Hovey. Mr. Jones. Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kitchens. Mr. Livingston. Mr. Melson. Mr. Orr. Mr. Price. Mr. Reed. Mr. Roberts. Mr. Sessions. Mr. Shelnut. Mr. Singleton. Mr. Smitherman. Mr. Stewart. Mr. Stutz. Mr. Wagner. Ms. Weaver. Mr. Williams.
What did Butler want, Greg? 30 ayes, no nays.
30 ayes, no nays. BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 33 of the calendar, House Bill number 87 by Representative Brown regarding airport authorities. Committee amendment pending.
Senator Figures.
Mr. President, I'd like to move the adoption of the committee amendment using previous roll without objection.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton. Mr. Williams.
30 ayes, no nays.
30 ayes, no nays. Committee amendment is adopted. We're on the bill. Senator Figures.
Mr. President, I'd like to move for final passage of HB 87, reading at length to be dispensed with, using previous roll without objection.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton. Mr. Williams.
30 ayes, no nays, one abstention. HB 87 receives its final passage. Thank you, Senator Figures.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, members of the Senate.
Secretary, call the next bill on the special order calendar.
On page 17 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 88 by Senator Weaver regarding the Alabama Fire College. BR pending.
Senator Weaver.
I'd like to move the BR using previous roll without objection.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton. Mr. Williams.
30 ayes, no nays, one abstention. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 16 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 88 by Senator Weaver regarding the Alabama Fire College. Committee amendment pending.
So this is a workforce bill, and we have increased the commission to 8. I have an amendment that was offered in the committee. It was a compromise that we worked to add an additional.
Yes, we'll read and receive the amendment.
Okay. Yes, so it's a committee amendment, so I'd like to adopt the committee amendment using previous roll with no objection.
Any objection? We got an objection.
I need to know what the committee amendment does.
He wants to ask about the committee.
So the
You're
committee amendment was part of a negotiation. The bill added an 8th member. There was some discussion, and we worked it out. The volunteer fire department, we added, and it brought the 8th member. They didn't want to get the board out of line with what it is, so we added a 9th member for professional firefighters to keep everything in line.
Okay, you can go back. I just want to know it.
Okay. Senator Allen, you're recognized.
Let's just go ahead and vote on this amendment, and I'll let to speak just a second.
Okay. Senator Weaver, you're renewing your motion?
Yes. Previous
All right.
roll, no objection.
Any
please.
objection?
Call the long roll.
Call the long roll.
Strawbritton. Mr. Allen.
That was what I was told.
Mr. Barfoot. Mr. Beasley. Mr. Bell. Mr. Butler. Mr. Carnley. Mr. Chambliss. Mr. Chasteen. Ms. Coleman. Ms. Coleman Madison. Mr. Elliott. Ms. Figures. Mr. Gavan. Mr. Gudger. Mr. Hatcher. Mr. Hovey. Mr. Jones. Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kitchens. Mr. Livingston. Mr. Milson. Mr. Orr. Mr. Price. Mr. Reed. Mr. Roberts. Mr. Sessions. Mr. Shelnut. Mr. Singleton. Mr. Smitherman. Mr. Stewart. Mr. Stutz. Mr. Wagner. Ms. Weaver.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
"23 ayes, 4 nays. The committee amendment's adopted. We're on the bill.
Mr. President.
Senator Allen.
Yes. I'm not going to filibuster, so I just want to make a comment. Back in 2012, the Fire College was connected with Shelton State Junior College. Of course, we passed a piece of legislation bringing out the Alabama Fire College out from Shelton State Junior College and let it stand independently on its own in the junior college system. Since then, the Fire College has been operating in such a manner that each one of you, all of us, all the citizens of Alabama, including all the volunteers, all the professionals, firefighters, very pleased on how the Fire College has been operating. And so that is just a very simple statement, but says in the Act of 2012, the Alabama Fire College to clarify the existence of the college as an independent institution of post-secondary education under supervision and control of the Alabama Firefighters Personnel Standards and Education Commission. And so the commission has been operating just fine. And I just want to make that statement, and I'm just very pleased to know that it's in great shape as it is. They have done a tremendous job, and I just want to come and make that statement because it's been working exactly the way it was developed to operate. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator Allen. Senator Smitherman, you recognize.
Thank you, Senator. I think you're doing a good job in bringing the bill. Let me just say that to you. Just giving a little further history. The Fire College, this is before you even got, well, you might have been in the House, but I know it's before you got here. The Fire College recognized, and I'm really here to give them a compliment, because they recognize the need to get as many people involved as they could. And they had a situation where initially they had that you had to go on this track of, I don't know if y'all call it schooling, training, or you go through a step process that it probably took maybe about a year or so. And they were gracious enough in understanding, to draw from all the members to be able to open up that opportunity for all their members. And it allowed them to get people trained and qualified and who was exposed by the rules and procedures that they had set up. So I just want to commend you for your bill and what you're doing. And I'm sure you can see the place of my comment and what the bill's trying to do. And with that, I'll yield back to you.
Thank you for your comments. With that, I'd like to, final passage, previous roll, no objection.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
23 ayes, 4 nays. SB 88 receives its final passage. Thank you, Senator Weaver.
Mr. President,
Senator Wagner.
a few minutes ago, we passed Senate Bill 37 by Ms. Figures. I had a amendment to that, naming it the Vivian Davis Figures Clean Indoor Air Act. Mr. President, I'd like to move to reconsider the vote by which that bill passed.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the bill's reconsidered.
Mr. President, I have amendment to Senate.
Hang on. Secretary, call the bill.
No.
Don't call it.
Don't call it. What?
Senator Wagner, you recognized for a moment of personal privilege.
Thank you. I think this is a very deserving amendment to name this the Vivian Davis Figure Indoor Air Act. She has worked tirelessly on this issue, and I think it would be very appropriate for the Senate to name this
Senate Bill number 37 by Senator Allen.
the Vivian Davis Figure Indoor Air Act because of the tremendous amount of work she's done for years on this issue. So is it appropriate for,
Yes.
is the bill back?
Desk will read and receive the amendment.
I have the amendment.
Amendment to Senate Bill 37 by Senator Wagner.
Vivian Davis.
Replace line 18 on page 1 with the following. Replace lines 22 through 23 on page 1 with the following.
Mr. President,
Senator
I move
Wagner.
adoption of the amendment
Using previous roll.
using previous roll.
Any objection?
It just names the bill.
All right, let's call the long roll.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Allen. Mr. Barfoot. Mr. Beasley. Mr. Bell. Mr. Butler. Mr. Carnley. Mr. Chambliss. Mr. Chastain. Ms. Coleman. Ms. Coleman Madison. Mr. Elliott. Ms. Figures. Mr. Gavan. Mr. Gudger. Mr. Hatcher. Mr. Hovey. Mr. Jones. Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kitchens. Mr. Livingston. Mr. Melson. Mr. Orr. Mr. Price. Mr. Reed. Mr. Roberts. Mr. Sessions. Mr. Shellnut. Mr. Singleton. Mr. Smithman. Mr. Stewart. Mr. Stutz. Mr. Wagner. Ms. Weaver. Mr. Williams.
31 ayes, no nays.
31 ayes, no nays. The Senator Wagner amendment's adopted.
Mr. President, Mr. President,
Senator Wagner.
I move that we repass Senate Bill 37 as amended using the short roll.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Congratulations.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
Thirty-two ayes, no nays. SB 37 has received its second and final passage. Senator Figures, you're recognized for a point of personal
Please
privilege.
have a point of personal privilege. Thank you. I just want to say thank you to all of you, and thank you, Senator Wagner, for bringing that amendment. Senator Wagner and Senator Smitherman, I think, were the only two senators who were here at the time witnessing us working on that bill. And, well, you all have heard the stories over time that I've told in getting that bill passed. It took me 6 years to get that Clean Indoor Air Act on the calendar. And I had done so much compromising with so many different groups, just as Representative Barbara Drummond is doing now with the vaping bill. And I can't wait until we bring HB 65 here to pass as well. And she's having much of the same experience I did, so I know how hard she's working. But I just want to say that it's always been important to me that all Alabamians have the right to breathe clean air. And it doesn't hurt anyone for anyone not to smoke, but it hurts everyone within breathing distance for someone to smoke with secondhand and thirdhand smoke. So the late Senator Jack Biddle had tried to pass this amendment naming this act after me several times during that time. In fact, one time I had to kill the bill myself because it just went south. But thank you all so much for giving me this honor. It means a lot to me. And I love all of you. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Senator Chambliss.
I'd be recognized for a point of personal privilege.
You're recognized.
Ms. Figures, if you can hear me, I am one of the ones who, if you can hear me, I developed pleurisy from secondhand indoor smoke. I was 23. I thought I was going to die. I went to my doctor. I told him what I was feeling, and it was on my left side, so I thought it was my heart. I really thought I was having a heart attack. And he went through a bunch of tests and things, and then he asked me, "Do you work somewhere that they have smoking?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "You have pleurisy." And I was like, "What's that?" And it's a separation of the lining of the lung from the reaction to the smoke. So, your bill, your effort, over time benefited me and many, many, many others. So I just wanted to publicly say thank you.
Thank you, Senator Chambliss. Senator Allen.
Privilege, pleasure.
You're recognized.
Back last fall, I was at my grandson's football game in Bibb County. I was sitting next to a young man vaping. And that's the genesis of what got the bill here today. And high schools and middle schools across the state, the administration, the principals, assistant principals has a huge issue with young people vaping in our schools. And so this is a big issue. And so I just want to make that comment, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Allen. All right. Secretary, call the next bill on the special order calendar.
On page 12 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 141 by Senator Bell regarding St. Clair County. BR pending.
Senator Bell.
President, motion for BR using short row.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, no nays. Secretary, call the bill.
Page 20 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 141 by Senator Bell regarding St. Clair County.
Mr. President,
Senator Bell.
this cleans up some language from a 2022 bill that keeps people voting in their correct districts for the school board, and where you're not voting in somebody else's district where you're not living or your children are attending. I ask for final passage, previous row.
Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton. Mr. Williams.
Shut up.
All right. 32 ayes, no nays. SB 141 receives its final passage. Thank you, Senator Bell. Secretary, call the next bill on the special order calendar.
All right. Senator Bell, you make a motion for a adoption of the certification resolution. All right.
I'll make a motion for that.
All right,
Local certification.
All right. If I heard you right, you made a motion to adopt the certification resolution using previous roll. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton. Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The certification resolution is adopted. Thank you, Senator Bell. All right, Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 31 of the calendar, House Bill number 15 by Representative Lipscomb relating to the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. BR pending.
Senator Bell.
Motion for adoption of BR, previous row.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Strawbritton. Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 31 of the calendar, House Bill number 15 by Representative Lipscomb relating to the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources.
Senator Bell.
Mr. President, this will allow for the release of black bass back into the Coosa River. Motion for final passage using short row, no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton. Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 15 passes. Thank you, Senator Bell. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 60 of the calendar, Senate Bill 244 by Senator Weaver relating to the Board of Medical Examiners. BR pending.
I'd like to make a motion to pass the BR using previous roll, no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton. Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 60 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 244 by Senator Weaver relating to the Board of Medical Examiners.
Senator Weaver.
So this bill is one that we actually passed last year, an expedited license were added in the code last year, and it defines that in the code. However, the FBI will not allow ALEA to conduct a national background check for expedited license for the Board of Medical Examiners applicants unless this category is defined in the statute. So that is what we're doing today. If there are no questions, I'd like to ask for final passage using previous roll, no objection.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton. Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 244 passes. Thanks, Senator Weaver. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 12 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 142 by Senator Bell.
Senator Bell.
Pell City.
Mr. President, motion for BR, previous row.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton. Mr. Williams.
33 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 12 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 142 by Senator Bell relating to Pell City in St. Clair County.
Senator Bell.
Mr. President, this cleans up the Board of Education for the Pell City school system, and a motion for final passage, previous row, no objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton. Mr. Williams.
33 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 142 passes. All right, before we move on to the next bill, if I could get y'all's attention. All right, Senator, you're recognized.
Mr. President, thank you for the recognition. I would like to request a point of personal privilege.
You're recognized.
Thank you. On Wednesday, April 3rd, one of our young deputies here in Montgomery County, Jermias Young, perished in a car accident. It was a fatal crash. And what I'm hearing from Sheriff Cunningham, who was here earlier today, our Montgomery County Sheriff, is he very much treated him as a son. Jermias was very young, joined the force at age 21. The funeral, I'm understanding, will be Monday at 12 noon. So I want to request a moment of silence for this wonderful young man who understood his role very well and was delighted to be a part of the law enforcement community.
All right, if you could join us in a moment of silence, please.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thanks, Senator Hatcher. All right, Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 48 of the calendar, House Bill number 75 by Representative Ensler regarding crimes and offenses. BR pending.
Mr. President.
Senator Smithman.
Move for passage of BR as unanimous consent to use the previous roll.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
33 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
Page 48 of the calendar, House Bill number 75 by Representative Ensler relating to crimes and offenses.
Senator Smithman.
If I know everybody didn't have a chance to be in judiciary, but if you did, you would have had a chance to understand why we have this bill here. This representative had the bill. This is for your postmen, your letter carriers. It's a thin line between the way they're assaulted and whether or not it's considered an assault that they're protected or just somebody who harassing them. Anytime somebody get a 2x4 and try to go side your head, that ain't harassment, that's assault. And that's what the clear example in the person that was standing there talking to the committee. So Representative Inslee decided to have this bill, and it's Senator, and I think that is our Judiciary Chair. He's busy doing some other work. So if there's no other questions about it at this time, I move for final passage as unanimous consent to use the previous roll.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
33 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 75 passes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks, Senator Smithman. All right, Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 13 of the calendar, Senate Bill 163 by Senators Williams and Sessions relating to Mobile County. BR pending.
Senator Williams.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Can I pass the BR over previous row?
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
This bill is for my local...
Hold on 1 second, Senator Williams.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
All right, 33 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
Page 20 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 163 by Senator Williams and Sessions relating to Mobile County.
All right, Senator Williams.
This is from a local fire department, volunteer fire department right next to my house. We've got down to a 2-member board, and we're not able to appoint the members. The judge drew this up where he can appoint 3 more members. We'll have a 5-member board, or we can have election. If nobody wants to talk, I'd like to pass it with previous roll call.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
33 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. All right, that was final passage of Senate Bill 163. My bad. All right. Secretary, call the next bill on the calendar. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 8 of the calendar, House Bill 139 by Representative Ellis regarding the Department of Insurance. BR pending.
Mr. President,
Senator Kitchens.
I'd move for the BIR using previous role without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
33 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 8 of the calendar, House Bill number 139 by Representative Ellis regarding the Department of Insurance.
Senator Kitchens.
This is the House version of a bill that we've already passed out of here dealing with the Department of Insurance, removing them from sunset. Without any questions, I'd move for the final passage using previous role without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
33 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 139 passes. Thanks, Senator Kitchens. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 59 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 237 by Senators Coleman and Coleman-Madison regarding child support. BR pending.
Senator Coleman.
Thank you. I believe I have to move passage of a substitute first.
We need to adopt the BR first.
Move adoption of the BRR with previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
All right, 33 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 59 of the calendar, Senate Bill 237 by Senator Coleman and Coleman-Madison regarding child support. Committee substitute pending.
All right, Senator Coleman.
Move passage of the substitute using the previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
33 ayes, 0 nays. The committee substitute's adopted. All right, Senator Coleman.
Move final passage.
All right, would you like to use previous role?
Yes, sir.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
All right, 33 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 237 passes. Thanks, Senator Coleman.
Thank you.
All right, Secretary, call the next bill on the calendar. Senator Sessions.
On page 37
Turn that mic off, please.
House Bill 126 by Representative Holsey regarding fire protection personnel and emergency medical services personnel. BR pending.
All right, Senator Gudger.
I'd like to make a motion to move the BR using previous role without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
33 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
Page 37 of the calendar, House Bill number 126 by Representative Holsey and others regarding fire protection personnel and emergency medical services personnel.
Senator Gudger.
Thank you, Mr. President. HB 126 does exactly what Marshall just said. Requires fire protection for personnel, certified volunteer firefighters, and emergency medical services personnel to undergo 1 hour of training related to interacting with individuals with sensory needs or invisible disabilities. We've passed similar bills to this in the past, and I'd make a final motion to pass this bill using previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
33 ayes, 0 nays. House Bill 126 passes. Thanks, Senator Gudger.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 27 of the calendar, House Bill number 196 by Representative Ingram relating to the sale of tax delinquent land. BR pending.
Senator Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, this bill allows the Alabama Department of Revenue to sell tax delinquent property through an online process. Currently, they're limited to just the Alabama Department of Revenue's website, so a much wider audience for the sale of tax delinquent property. And at this time, I'd like to move the BIR using previous role without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
32 ayes, no nays. 32 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
Page 26, the calendar. House Bill number 196 by Representative Ingram relating to property.
Mr. President.
Senator Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move final passage using previous role without objection.
Mr. President.
Yes, Senator Smitherman.
Could I be recognized?
Always.
Tell me what they did. You taking my property?
No, sir.
I ain't talking about mine. It'd be everybody in the
No,
property.
we're-
What's going on with the property?
The state already took it. We're just selling it.
So this is where the state already has the property?
They already took it.
and now they want to, you have an opportunity to buy it?
Yeah, so what all this is doing is expanding the avenues in which they can sell it. So they've got the tax delinquent property. Right now they can only use the State Department of Revenue's website. This allows them to use other websites to market the property that the state's already got. So
how you buy it on the website though? I know they market it where you can see it, but can you bid on you can do that too?
you can bid on those websites, and you can do that. We do a lot of surplus auction sales. We do all kinds of sales of used state equipment, county equipment, city equipment.
Do you have the website?
Yeah, we use, there's a lot of different websites. You use like Gov Deals and other things like that where we sell. I've seen some land on that, but there are other websites of that
Can your
nature.
administrative assistant get me the website?
Yeah, absolutely. There's some cool stuff on there.
I know.
Matter of fact, all the furniture in my office, when I got up here as a freshman, man, there was nothing, right? It all picked over, and there wasn't anything. I bought all the furniture in my office off of Gov Deals for $100.
Well, you know, I need to find that place because I'm finna tell you something that you didn't know. Some folks knew you didn't know, and I didn't come up in to tell you, but you brought it to my mind.
Is
that you remember when you said about your furniture?
Oh no, I heard this story before.
You heard my story.
I've heard this story. I wasn't here then. I didn't
try this. You go home and come back, and somebody done took all your furniture out your office.
You ever say
and
something?
Under the name that they said that it's Pro Tem furniture, and this was my personal office furniture that I brought over to the Pro Tem's office. Didn't buy one new stick of furniture for myself when I was in Pro Tem. And then they took it and spread it out, gave it to anybody who wanted, just like an auction, free auction.
The kids, young kids.
Now let me tell you what I did. See, I understand when you say you got your own furniture for $100, because after that, I brought my own furniture down here and put it in my office, and so I wouldn't have to worry about it being gone when I wasn't here. Now about 4 years later, I yield to, because I have to say the body, you know, I got some apologies, and people said we need to get you some furniture for your office, and I wouldn't do it for about 3 years on purpose, because I was just steaming that somebody, the audacity did not even ask me before they take it. I didn't say they couldn't get it if it was Pro Tem furniture, but it wasn't. So I know what you're saying. Now I've got a little mixture of both, and that's all right, you know. But when you said that, but the real reason I want it though is not for that. It's because you are right. It's some cool stuff that they, maybe used and old stuff, but I could use films to take this film. I'd like to get on there and make a bid for an old bush hog.
Yep.
You see what I mean? To cut that real tall weeds, the kind you just walk behind. Because I know now they got the riding ones, and they probably trying to get rid of them old ones that you walk behind. But see, I'd like to get that number, and I'd bid on, try to bid on something like that where I could, for them tall weeds. I got a little field that's pretty decent. I can clean it off, but if I had this, I can't put no lawnmower on it. It'd tear it up.
Is it got that real tall state grass in it that Senator from Coleman had? That tall grass?
Yeah. And so you see what I mean?
I do.
All right. Well, that's all. But if you can get me that when you get a chance, I don't mean like now, tomorrow, next day, it'll be fine.
You'll have it soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. President, seeing no further comments, I will renew my motion for final passage using previous roll without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Williams.
(31 ayes, 0 nays). House Bill 196 passes. Thank you, Senator Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Secretary, call next bill on the calendar.
On page 6 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 124 by Senator Kelly regarding the Alabama Security Regulatory Board. BR pending.
Senator Kelly.
Move adoption of the BR by previous rule.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
On page, Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
33 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 6 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 124 by Senator Kelly relating to the Alabama Security Regulatory Board.
Mr. President.
Senator Kelly.
This is a sunset bill for the Alabama Security Regulatory Board, moving the continued date till October 1st, 2027. And I think it's very prudent in light of the valuable furniture that Senator Elliott has bought, and then Senator Smitherman's enviness of that. So I move for passage by previous roll.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
33 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 124 passes. Thanks, Senator Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Secretary, call next bill on the calendar.
On page 4 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 127 by Senators Stewart and Coleman Madison regarding the Alabama Athletic Commission. BIR pending.
Senator Stewart.
Mr. President, I move for the adoption of the BIR using previous role without objection.
All right, any objection? All right, hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
All right, 33 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 4 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 127 by Senator Stewart and Coleman Madison regarding the Alabama Athletic Commission.
All right, Senator Stewart.
Mr. President, I move for the adoption.
Well, go ahead and make it.
Go ahead.
I move for final passage using previous role without objection.
Yeah. Senator Allen.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a brief statement. Appreciate your work on this, and the senators from Birmingham know exactly what I'm fixing to say. There's some issues with the current code that we need to address. That bill has been filed. It's in Judy, and maybe we'll see that bill in Senator Barfoot's committee sometime very, very soon. So that's all I got to say. Thank you, Mr. President.
Hey, thank you, Senator Allen. All right, Senator Smitherman.
Don't go nowhere. Senator Allen, I just wanted to, well, I shouldn't, till you come to the mic. Now you're at the mic, I said Senator from Tuscaloosa. I just wanted to, give you your flowers while you're living. Most folks don't know you dedicated several years of your life in the creation of this board and the structure thereof. So you ought to be commended, and I look forward to working as we did in Judah, trying to make sure that we get the code straight. But you should get your flowers while you're living.
We make a pretty good tag team, sir.
Yes, sir, we do.
Thank you.
Senator Allen, appreciate all your help. All right, Senator Stewart's motion, final passage using previous role. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, colleagues.
33 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 127 passes. Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 5 of the calendar, Senate Bill 133 by Senator Barfoot regarding the Alabama Securities Commission. BR pending.
Mr. President.
All right.
I move the BIR using the previous role. The senator is a constituent.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 5 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 133 relating to the Alabama Securities Commission.
Senator Barfoot.
Mr. President, I'd move for adoption, I'd move for final passage using previous role.
All right. Wait for the screen to get updated. All right, final passage using previous role. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 133 passes. Thanks, Senator Barfoot.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Secretary, call the next bill.
On page 5 of the calendar, Senate Bill 134 by Senator Barfoot regarding the Department of Insurance. BR pending.
All right, Senator Barfoot.
Mr. President, move for adoption of the BR using previous role.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, no.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 5 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 134 by Senator Barfoot relating to the Department of Insurance.
Amendment?
Yes, sir. I do have an amendment, Mr. President.
Secretary, read and receive the amendment.
Amendment to Senate Bill 134 by Senator Barfoot. Replace line 36 on page 2 with the following.
Move for final passage using previous rule. Adoption of the amendment, I'm sorry. Yep.
All right. Adoption amendment using previous rule. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, no nays. The Senator Barfoot amendment's adopted. All right, Senator Barfoot.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President, you've moved for passage as amended of SB 134 using previous rule.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 134 passes as amended. Thanks, Senator Barfoot. All right, Secretary, call the last bill on the calendar.
On page 5 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 148 by Senator Coleman Madison, relating to the Alabama State Board of Respiratory Therapy. BR pending.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Coleman Madison.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move the BR using previous rule without objection.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton. Mr. Williams.
34 ayes, 0 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 5 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 148 by Senator Coleman Madison, relating to the Board of Respiratory Therapy.
Senator Coleman Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is reauthorization of the State Board of Respiratory Therapy through October 2028. I'd like to move final passage using previous rule without objection.
Say final passage using previous rule. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Strawbritton. Mr. Williams.
All right, 34 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 148 passed.
Could I be recognized for a moment of personal privilege?
You're recognized.
Thank you. Members, I want to commend first the Rules Chair. I want to commend the Rules Chair for putting together a very good calendar. I'm sure it took a lot of thought, and you put it together to the point where we could have some good flow and things could move at a very good pace. So you to be commended. You should get some flowers right now. Okay, I want to say that. And secondly, I don't know if everybody realized, but we've addressed 41 bills in here within a very good reasonable amount of time. So you'll be commended also. Appreciate the pro tem for your work and your diligence to help keep this flow moving like it is. And Mr. President, thank you for allowing me to have these few moments.
Always. All right, Senator Wagner.
Mr. President, I think I've served a couple of years longer than most of y'all. By far, this is the most bills in my career that I can ever recall, probably by far. So I, too, want to commend the membership for taking this serious today, going through this calendar, voting up or down, carrying a couple of them over. But I think this has been one great day. I think we made history today as far as the number that we passed. So y'all deserve commendations. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Wagner. Senator Reed, you know it's a historic day when the computer screen melts down twice, right, and goes black, so from the amount of bills.
You're exactly right, Mr. President. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me add, the minority whip had a great word for us. He's been here a long time. Senator Wagner, as the Rules Chairman's been here for a long time. These gentlemen are complimenting us all, and we appreciate their words of encouragement. And let me add my word of appreciation. You don't get where we are doing what we did today if you're not intentional on working together. Intentional on working together. So you are to be commended for your hard work. You know, what did we do? We worked on our workforce legislation, which has been a topic we've been at for a while. We had great collaboration on a number of different pieces of legislation that we voted up or down and kind of navigated through. We had great support, certainly by the minority leader, as well as the whip on the majority side and the majority leader, Senator Livingston, who helped us with this navigation. So It was a great day, and I am very appreciative of the hard work of the Alabama Senate, the men and women of the Alabama Senate. So with that, tomorrow we are not in session. We've had a strong committee day, will be ours to work on tomorrow. So best of luck to you in your diligence in that process. And again, thank you for your hard work and dedication. With that, Mr. President, I'd make a motion that we adjourn until 10 a.m. on Thursday, April 11th.
All right, you heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem.